We're back in a familiar place for both the Medicine Hat Mavericks and the Saskatoon Berries. The Mavericks, of course, back home here at Athletic Park, and they will play Saskatoon for the first time this year at this field. But it is this place where the Berries first made their debut into the WCBL back in 2024, playing 3 straight games here and not winning one of them. They didn't look very good in that season, but come playoff time, that's when the rise of the Berries officially started to happen, and they came through and managed to beat a 2024 Mavericks team that was loaded in that series, winning their first ever playoff series. But times have changed since then. The Berries, they have been a perennial leader and front runner within the Eastern Division, whereas the Mavericks, they've continued to have lots of success in the regular season, qualifying for the playoffs. But then once postseason time has come around, things have gotten quiet. This year, it has been a quiet start for the Mavericks as well, as they have come out with a sub-500 record. It's not something we see a lot from the club in red. As for the Berries, they're back in their rightful place in first and jumping over the Moose Jaw Miller Express, who they have been hemming and hawing with for most of this season. So a big weekend for the Mavericks as they look to get closer to 500, and a bigger weekend for the Berries, who look to push forth into first place and keep the Mavericks off their tail, because if the Mavericks don't get going here, there's no chance to catch the big dogs in the East. We'll get to see it all here on Flow Sports tonight. My name is Truman Bartman, here along with you for the ride, as always, on another great night here in Medicine Hat. It seems like every time we don't play ball, that's when the bad weather comes in. Tonight we've got good weather, which means good ball to come with, and we saw a lot of good baseball last time the Mavericks were here at home. It was a 10-0 deficit that was erased by this group, a comeback that drained all the way into the 9th inning. Levi Tibbetts closing the deal, Tanner Hale coming in relief for a majority of the game, and a Blake Dale home run sprinkled in there as the Mavs coming through in that game. And then the last game they played against the Brooks Bombers, Blake Dale once again with a 2-run shot in the 9th, which gave them the win, and they hope to build on that win streak as well coming into this game. Whereas the Berries, they just continue to win, and they look to remain in that place come game time. So we will send you off to a quick ad break and then be back with tonight's starting lineups and starting pitchers before we get going. There's lots going on throughout the sporting world, but we're going to focus here on baseball for now and, of course, get you updated on what's happening in and around the WCBL throughout tonight and probably throughout the sports world. NBA draft tonight NHL, it seems like trade deadline with all that has gone on in that world. And of course, we got to talk about it because I'm sure you sports fans out there and baseball fans would want to know what's going on around. But first, let's talk about tonight's starting lineup, starting with the hometown Medicine Hat Mavericks lineup. And it's a familiar look for the Mavs, going with Evan Morrison in the leadoff spot. It's something that Ryan Reed tried recently, liked, and will go back to it here. Blake Dale will bat behind him in the 2 spot. Frankie Giacalone batting 3. Carter Roth will hit cleanup as he usually does. DHing will be Eric Calder batting 5th. Nate King will bat 6th and catching. And in the 7th spot is Carson Chan in left field, Johnny Volcano at short. And then I know it says Adam Volcano on there, but it is Josh Stark who is in right field tonight. So Starkey going to be playing in the corner where he usually is, down that right side where the wind often blows to. And for the Saskatoon Berries, they'll be trying to use that wind tonight. And they got a lot of big guns in their lineup, starting with Brock Laird, their DH, who's had an impressive year, and maybe no more impressive than Ethan Murdoch, who's been one of the best players in the WCBL this season. He'll be in left field. Gavin Panks behind the plate. Gael Selenius playing at second. Nick Stinson over at first. Nathan Houston will slot in at shortstop. Josh Henson will be at third. Eric Aguirre in right field, and Nash Nichols over in center. So that is who the Berries have as a part of their group tonight. And your starting pitcher for the Mavericks as this game gets going is going to be Derek Archer, who's had an all-star worthy year to begin his WCBL career. But he's a veteran, a senior at school, so he comes in with lots of experience, and he's put up good numbers. A 2-1 record, a 2.25 ERA, 27 Ks, and he's got his parents in the stands tonight, as do many Mavericks players this evening. It just seems to be the weekend where families funnel in, and so Archer will be pitching for a lot more. He will be pitching to impress his folks as the Mavericks come out onto the field here. Official starting lineups being announced to the Medicine Hat faithful. And while we get a chance to step away, we will, and be back with our national anthem. Been a busy week in the WCBL, and these two teams, each a part of that busy week, but maybe none busier for what was happening up north. A triple header, something you rarely see within the WCBL, between the Fort Mac Giants and the Energy City Cactus Rats. But these two teams, they have 2 games over the next 2 days against each other. So they're all not as big, but they will get to know each other well, and we're going to get lots of Berries versus Mavericks action. And as mentioned earlier, the Mavericks come into this game with a record that they're not impressed with so far, and a lot of the league, I think, would feel is very underwhelming. And this is a big chance to get back at a team that had their number earlier this year and historically has had their number. As I mentioned in the lead-off to today, ever since that first series when the Berries had just become a franchise, they have owned the Medicine Hat Mavericks in the playoffs. In the regular season, they fared well against them last year, including in a bit of a rainy game here at one point, and they continue to do that. Earlier in the year, a 6-1 win, and they did it against the guy on the mound in Derek Archer. We have the exact same pitching matchup that we saw last time these teams played at Cairns Field, and so we'll see if Derek Archer has switched things up. Against most teams, he hasn't had to change anything with what the numbers suggest, and the fact that he is among one of the 10 best pitchers in the WCBL in both strikeouts and ERA, which is a feat that is hard to come by. You'll see lots of strike throwers throughout the league, but doing so and keeping the earned run average down, that's something that separates the good pitchers from the best pitchers, and Archer has been one of the best this year. And he will face a loaded Berries lineup with Brock Laird atop the order. Nate King, who's also had an excellent year behind the plate catching and next to the plate hitting, will step behind and catch for Archer tonight. And walking behind him now and getting ready to go is Brock Laird. Laird's first year with the Saskatoon Berries. And if you're curious, is he related to another former Saskatoon Berry who had the last name Laird in Zach Laird? He is not. Brock Laird. First batter of the game that Archer will see. And we are underway here at Athletic Park, and the first pitch from Archer is a strike. Archer has this unique confidence about him. When you chat with him, he's just a regular guy who loves baseball and, willing to go out on the mound and try lots. But he's very stable within how he pitches and his routine and what he goes through. And he's very confident in that. He's not willing to change things up a whole bunch mid-game. And things are very similar from outing to outing for Archer. Laird, a 1-1 count to him. Berries are a team that can strike fast. And a strike there to Laird as he's down 1-2. Going off speed there was Derek Archer. He has a changeup, but really only uses it against lefties, so probably won't see that in a matchup against the righty in Laird. Head in the count is Archer. Here comes the pitch. And a strikeout looking. What a way to start your day if you're Derek Archer, and his family has to be smiling somewhere in the stands. Not exactly sure where they're seated, but that is going to bring some joy to their section. So Archer will step off here, already with 1 out, and that's been a problem for Medicine Hat in the early innings, is getting outs. We saw against Fort Mac, they were able to pile up many runs. As it's a strike for Archer this time. Finding the strike zone early, already into his routine here is Derek Archer. Archer down the stripe, and that one just fouled off by Ethan Murdoch, the former Swift Current 57 and former WCBL All-Star. Joined the Berries last season. It was his first year with them, and he delivered. He was a really good player, always batting in one of the top 3 spots in their lineup a season ago, and he's in the 2 spot today, but he's playing in the outfield, which is a bit different for him. Murdoch sends this one towards right. Giacalone going to track, and it's too far and foul. Murdoch in the past has set up shop at third base in some of his early playing days with the 57s. But he's a threat everywhere, and he can pound the ball. The home run number's down this year, but this is a former guy that played in the home run derby. Here's Archer. Going to miss that one on a bounce, trying to get a chase out ahead there from Murdoch. Archer looking for one more, and that just a bit low. No offer here from Murdoch, who's a tough out. Archer working quickly up there. Now he'll stare back towards Murdoch. Here's the pitch. Murdoch sends this one high. It's rolling into the outfield. Chance in center field for Evan Morrison, and he'll make the grab. That's out number 2 here for Medicine Hat in the first, and they knock down 2 big names in the process. Gavin Panks, another big name, the on-base percentage leader here for the Saskatoon Berries. Panks really good behind the plate, solid defensively, and his bat has proven itself as well. Archer, first pitch is going to connect for a strike, and he's ahead again. 3 consecutive counts where Archer takes the lead. Different look now with a left-handed batter, though, in Panks. And Panks is going to loop this one over into right field, and it's going to drop for a base hit. So the first hit of the game on the board, and it belongs to Gavin Panks, who mentioned before, he likes to get on base. He's not so much the biggest power threat that we've seen in the WCBL, but he finds green grass more often than not, and a lightly hit one over into right field will work this time around. And now it's the cleanup hitter in Gael Solanas. Solana is playing in at second base tonight. A guy who has power that he uses in the extra base department. He's not as much a home run hitter, but any deep fly ball is something that Solanas has made a part of his arsenal. He was a record breaker at college this year. He set the RBI record for Frontier Community College. And there's one that is just missed from Solanas as he fouls it back to the netting. Late inning rallies, that's what the best teams do most often, and the Berries with a chance to do that here. Panks over at first, and Solanas, who's had a great campaign at the plate. Archer shakes off a pitch, gets what he wants, and now looks towards the righty at the dish. Pitch is just high from Archer, and that'll run the count to 1-2. Archer started the season here at home in the Mavericks home opener against Regina. He was in line for the win, but the Mavs coughed that game up late. Archer kicks, deals, and no chase there from Solanas. Somebody cleaning off the camera for us. We appreciate it. I only have so many arms and so much length to reach over. The camera's actually on the other side, so appreciate whoever got up there with a broom. But back to the count now. 2-2 with a man on. Here's Archer. And Gael Solanas over into right field, and a softly hit one is down. Panks is turning for 3, and he'll get in there. And there's now runners on the corners as Volcano will take a step back and retrieve that ball. So late inning rallies, mentioned that good teams do it. Now a chance here for the Berries to do that. Nick Stinson, first baseman. Also rolls a lot in the DH position. He'll step in on the left-hand side. So a good mix of righties and lefties here for the Berries. We'll talk about this later in the broadcast, but they lost a lot of big names from last year's team to this year's team. Archer fouled off there by Stinson, and another count that is 0-1. Not a lot of wind out there tonight, so talked about how most times there's this left to right breeze. Not tonight. Mostly dead air out there for these hitters to try and face against, and they'll take that over a strong breeze into their face. Archer pitch is going to end up high, and it'll move the count to 1-1. Mavericks defense, at least the middle infield, playing very deep. Blake Dale all the way over on the green grass. And here's a short hit one. Archer will pick it up, go to first. Giacalone with it on the other end, and that is the third out. So a pair stranded for the Berries early on as Archer knocks down the first two via the strikeout. And the last one, he had to wait a little bit longer, but converts on the throw to Giacalone at first base. Mentioned that it is the same pitching matchup from the last time these two teams played, which if you were box score following or watching that game at the time, that means that Diego Quinones will be back on the bump tonight. On the road here for the first time in Medicine Hat this year will be Quinones, who's a second-year Saskatoon Berry. He heads into this game with a 5.74 ERA, the same record as Derek Archer at 2-1, 16 strikeouts. But Quinones, when he can locate, is really good. And one thing that was praised about his performance by the Mavericks coaches in Saskatoon when they last played was that he was finding a way to the corners. He was able to paint the zone. He was using lots of his off-speed to get there, and that's dangerous when you can start to find those areas, those sneaky areas with your off-speed stuff, and it really threw the Mavs hitters for a loop. If Quinones is on it tonight, they could have trouble once again. Quinones, former product of the University of Ottawa, Kansas. We've talked about them before. There's a lot of guys in this game who either had a teammate or currently play at the University of Ottawa, Kansas, and he no longer there, but him and Johnny Volcano, who's playing shortstop for the Mavs tonight, were teammates there in 2024. Quinones. First pitch here to Evan Morrison, two vets going after it, and it is a first pitch strike for Quinones. Diego on the same page here with his catcher and Panks, and that one's fouled off by Morrison. He's behind 0-2. This could be a pitcher's duel tonight. Both of these arms fantastic, and although Quinones' ERA is a little bit higher than he would have liked, what he showed last time he played the Mavs was that he can step up to the occasion. Here's Morrison through the gap, underneath the glove of Houston and into left field. Morrison's thinking about two. He's going to charge on, sliding in and getting there with a leadoff double is Evan Morrison, who has come alive ever since he came out of the lineup. Coach Ryan Reed told me that he asked for a day off, and after that he has started to find his groove, and it hasn't been via the long ball. It has been singles like that. And he had a big one in Brooks to tie the game up for the Mavs in the top of the ninth. And that set up Blake Dale's lead-taking home run just an at-bat later. And just like in that game, Blake Dale coming up to the bat here. Morrison over on second. Quinones, the first pitch is going to slice and dice into the middle of the plate, and it's strike number one. Blake Dale having his best season in his third season in the WCBL. Dale flicks that one to the back, and now he's behind 0-2, similar to Morrison. The power has come a long way for Blake Dale. He has 3 home runs in the last week, and that was good enough to be named Alberta Player of the Week in the WCBL. He's also come across to score 11 times during that stretch. 0-2 count. Quinones looking for his first out of the ball game, and this one is popped up foul by Dale, and he'll reset here at 0-2. Dale originally coming from FloCollege when he joined the Medicine Hat Mavericks. Now at Kansas Wesleyan, where he played last year. Spent a lot of time in the outfield there, but he's primarily an infielder for the Mavericks. Quinones, the long wait, and a swing and a miss as he gets Dale reaching. One down here for the Berries, and it's a strikeout for Quinones the same way Archer got his first out. Still a runner in scoring position, and that'll send to the plate Frankie Giacalone, who head coach Ryan Reed had a lot to say about before the game. I was down there watching him at BP today, and the ball was flying off of his bat, especially when he was able to turn on pitches. And Coach Ryan Reed said, we've been working on some things. We're on the same page, and he's expecting that at some point Frankie Giacalone is going to break out. He does have 2 home runs in his last game. That was against Brooks. Quinones, that pitch going to be low. So it'll be a 1-0 count here to Giacalone. Gets the signal from Ryan Reed, who's over at third base. It's easier for those two to cooperate because they were at MAC-U together earlier in the season. Giacalone, a swing and a miss, and that will be strike 1. Morrison still over at second base. He has pretty good speed. Something into the outfield. He could probably try and advance if it's deep enough. But he's looking to come all the way home, and Giacalone's looking for something that ends in fair territory. Giacalone sends this one high towards left field. It's got some jump, but right at the warning track, the play is going to be made by Murdoch. So deep enough for Morrison to move over to third. And you could say a job well done for Giacalone, but I'm sure he was hoping that that one had a little bit more oomph and could get over the fence. So Carter Roth will come up, and talked about Derek Archer having family in the stands, and got a chance to talk to Carter Roth's dad before the game, who came up last year to watch him, and now he's up to watch Carter again here. And we got everybody coming off the field here. I'm not sure what's going on. I believe we only went through 2 batters, but I guess they called Evan Morrison out. And so that actually is going to end the bottom of the first. A interesting call. I'm not sure if he didn't touch second and that's what happened, or if they ended up getting him at third. It looked like he was in there with more than enough time. Maybe just jumping to conclusions up here, but that's going to end it. Carter Roth was sent back to the dugout. His walk-up song was already playing, and a rare change of events here. So the Mavericks are going to leave, I guess, technically they don't leave one stranded, although Morrison reached on a double to start the inning, and an interesting end to an interesting first. Neither team pushing runners across, and both threatening at times. It's Nathan Houston for the Berries to start inning number 2 after a bizarre end to inning number 1. I'm assuming that one of the 2 things that talked about prior kind of came into play. Either Morrison didn't tag second and the Berries threw it back and got the tap, or he came off of third base at some point and they were able to get the out that way. But nonetheless, we're here in inning number 2, and it is Nathan Houston, the former WCBL All-Star in 2024. That's when he was with the Moose Jaw Miller Express. Houston. Oh, a beautiful play at third base. Roth up into the air, snatching it down. He had his at-bat taken away from him in the last inning, and he takes an out, and probably what would have been a hit away from Nathan Houston. So from one All-Star's bat to one All-Star's glove, and now the baton is passed over to Josh Henson. Henson playing where Roth is tonight. He's been at third base. Archer, first pitch will bounce in the dirt. But he's fortunate to have an early out here, especially with Houston, a great contact hitter. He's leading the playoffs in batting average. He was over 500. That was during the 2024 season. Archer. And this one will get through the gap. No chance for Roth or Volcano that time, and it's a base hit for Josh Henson. So back-to-back innings where a Barrie gets a single. 2 singles in the last for Saskatoon. Stretching all the way out and getting to third in that inning was Gavin Penks, but he never came across to score. Now we'll bring up Eric Aguirre, who's over in right field tonight. Righty-lefty combination working well for the Berries, and we'll go back to the left side here with Aguirre. Archer, first dealing here, and it's a strike. Aguirre, one of the many new additions to this Berries team. The turnover from year 1 to year 2 wasn't as much as we've seen from year 3 to 4 for the Berries. I guess rather that would be year 2 to year 3. Haven't reached the 4th year yet of their team being in existence, which is crazy to think. 0-2 count here to Aguirre. Archer will go back over to first base. Before there was the Saskatoon Berries, of course, there was the Saskatoon Yellow Jackets, the first most recent WCBL franchise. And then, of course, departed for a bit and returned wearing blue. Here's a strikeout to Aguirre. 3 consecutive strikes for Derek Archer, and he's got his 3rd K of the game. So Archer is locked in. Something about pitching in front of your folks that makes you step up, and it can be nerve-wracking for lots of people, but it seems like Archer has harnessed it in here at least through 2 innings of play. And now the final batter within this Berries lineup will come up to the plate, and that's Nash Nichols, who's out in center field. Archer checking on first base again. He's keeping an eye over there on Josh Henson. Oh, that one is pulled all the way towards the old Medicine Hat Arena, and it's foul. That's one where you get all of it if you're Nichols, but you get so much of it that it can't stay in play. Archer keeping tabs over on first base as Henson's been jumping around. That pitch is going to be low. It'll be 1-1. Not a lot of chases on the outside for Archer so far. It's when he works more so closer to the middle of the plate where he's had success in this game. A long wait this time for Archer, and the pitch is high, swung on and missed there as Nash Nichols right through it. Nichols, a colder start to the season. Been in the outfield for the Berries, and he's batting around the 200 mark at one point, so he's in the bottom of the lineup for that reason. And a strikeout there as this time Archer gets the chase, and he continues to roll here, mowing down Berries batters. A bit of a revenge game for Derek Archer, who had the Berries get the best of him one time around. He's hoping that it won't be twice.
Baseball fans, make sure to stay up to date with your favorite teams across the league by subscribing to the WCBL YouTube channel right now. We have tons of free coverage for you over there, including daily highlights, full archived game broadcasts, daily game day previews, plus the WCBL report with myself and Joe McFarland every Wednesday. It's all in one spot, the WCBL YouTube channel. Subscribe today.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
After being put on hold, Carter Roth will finally get that at-bat in front of his parents for the first time during the 2026 WCBL season as they're in attendance tonight. And we have a bit of confirmation from James Tubb down at field level, who will join us later in the show up here in the booth. And he said that what he believed the last call was on Evan Morrison to end the first was that he went too early from second base. First pitch is a strike here from Quinones. He had a pretty quick first inning. It didn't look like it was going to be that way after he gave up a leadoff double to Evan Morrison. A 1 count here to Roth. He's going to squib this one, and it's over towards second. Play is just on time, but nearly an errant throw over there at second base from Solanas. So 1 down here already for the Mavs, and Carter Roth. There's been times where he hasn't been as dominant as he was a year ago. He's still working to get back into that rhythm, but had a really long college season at Doane with his group making the NAIA World Series. Here's Eric Calder now. Calder's been here since the very beginning with the Mavericks. And the first pitch to him is going to be a strike. And he's figured out the league quickly as well. More of a contact guy. He's hitting for a high average to begin the season. Quinones' second pitch is going to hit for a strike, and he praised the Berries pitching staff before this game. He said they have some very talented arms. That was what was apparent to him the first time that he arrived and played them in Saskatoon. Now he's got an 0-2 count as Quinones looking to finish it off. Quinones, a swing and a miss, as behind on it was Calder, and another strikeout for the big righty. Now here comes the tall task for Quinones, as it'll be Nate King, one of the hottest hitters in the WCBL so far this season. He's batting for a high average, and talked about it on the last broadcast, but he said he made a couple adjustments during his collegiate season, and now he's just trusting the process and making it happen, and making it happen he is. Quinones, pitch is going to miss outside. It was a deep ball in the dirt. Nate King, his third season in the WCBL, hoping to make his first All-Star appearance, and the numbers would back up that he's close to that. Of course, the All-Star game happening in Saskatoon this year. It's just about a month away. 2-0 count here to King. Quinones hasn't tested him with anything in the zone. King going to swing and miss through that one, and now it's 2-1 as he looks to work back. That sun's starting to come out down the left-hand side. Could impact play over at first base. Pitch is going to hit for a strike there, and King with a jolt up. He wasn't a fan of that call, and it will even the count at 2-2. You'll always see those reactions from players, and sometimes it's not even intentional. You're just so in the state of, oh, that would not have been what I would have called, that you move with a gesture. That pitch is going to be low, and I think everybody in attendance and around the diamond can agree that that one wasn't a strike. So everybody on good terms now. Full count here to Nate King with 2 outs as we are in the second inning of play. Quinones, pitch to King. Long play from third, but a great play to go and snatch it up by Josh Henson. He had a single earlier, and he makes sure that King doesn't get that here. It's a 1-2-3 inning for the Mavs as they're down in order, and we already cruise on to the third inning in a speedy game between two high-powered offenses that are yet to get going. As we get the top of the third inning going, you may notice that our score bug has changed here in the WCBL, and that is because the official score sponsor of the WCBL is Stringham Law. They'll be sponsoring the score bug and the official scores all season long. And if you're looking to find scores beyond just the games that you're watching on Flow Sports, of course, the official network, or tracking along in the top corner here, you can find those on Ball Clubs, the newest stat keeper of the WCBL for the 2026 season. And they're making upgrades all the time, finding new ways to bring stats your way. There's not a lot to record in this one so far. 3 hits for the out-of-town Berries and just 1 hit for the hometown Mavs. As we enter the top of the third inning here, a pitcher's duel between Derek Archer and Diego Quinones. Here's Archer to begin the third, and he starts it off with how he started off most batters today. That is strike 1. Brock Laird, second at bat here, and it's coming in the top of the third inning. Archer quickly to it, and a flinch there, but no swing from Laird. Laird, a historic background, not in the baseball realm as much as the football realm. His dad, a former NCAA football head coach. Archer, that pitch just climbs its way into the strike zone for a strike. Laird taking up more of the baseball side of things. His dad coached for a couple of different places, including Stephen F. Austin, who's a known tournament team in basketball, but he was there as a part of their football program. Laird will foul this one off into right foul territory. And the football scene here in Medicine Hat has grown over the years, including the likes of one of the first NFL players coming from this community, making it just a few years ago in the NFL draft, and that's Alec Manor, who's a wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. Here's Archer. He's going to send it in, and off speed, a swing and a miss for Laird. And I'm not sure if that one was a football that he would have been able to get lumber to it, as a big miss that time around. And Archer finding his points and nailing them. And another excellent pitch there on the way from the Mavericks ace. First out here in the top of the third inning, and we'll move over to Ethan Murdoch. Murdoch didn't take any time there to send that one into center field. And for a hitter as hot as Ethan Murdoch has been, he'll plunge one fourth and now move it over to Gavin Panks, who had a hit in the first inning. This is where the Berries can become a tough team to beat. The middle of their order is so good. The likes of Panks and Solanez, Stinson, and Houston at the very heart of it. And it really starts with Murdoch. If he can get on, that's when chaos is caused. Archer. A high swing and miss there for Panks as he falls over. Not impressed with the swing as he went chasing. Berries have been working from behind all night, and that can make for a long night, as we've seen through 2 innings of play. Archer goes lower this time, and that might have been the changeup. Trying to go that way with the left-handed batters, as we see here and there from Archer. Over on first, still Ethan Murdoch. Probably not a threat to steal, not as much as some guys on his team, but they'll check to him anyways. A guy like Nathan Houston is one you'll have to watch out for. A guy that can scamper often, really good at shortstop, and he possesses some of the better speed in the WCBL, at least on the defensive side, it's noticeable. Pitch misses high there for Archer, and he's in rare air here behind 2-1. Archer misses again, this time on the outside half. So high before, outside now. Doesn't want to allow any of the Berries to pull the ball, and he knows this place a little bit better than he did when he first started here, knowing that right field is a place where the ball can really fly. And if a lefty can turn on it, it's trouble for any team who's facing it off against a left-handed batter. A strike there for Archer will get the count full. A long watch over towards Murdoch at first base. Murdoch's going to go here. The pitch high. King will not throw, and it didn't matter on the steal attempt for Murdoch. There's 2 on here with just the 1 out for the Berries. And after a quiet inning in the second, they're looking more like the team we saw in the first. The question is can Archer get out of the jam like he did in the first? Gael Solanas who comes up to the plate. Solana has talked about his record-breaking season, and he has had a really good rookie campaign here. Him and Gavin Panks, newbies in the WCBL, but they don't look like it at all. And they're following the lead of Murdoch here, literally in some ways, because he's ahead of everybody over on second base. But he's a guy that's seen a lot in the WCBL, and when you can have a guy like him and a guy like Nathan Houston, and then on the opposite side have a veteran pitcher in Adam Cordy, you're able to navigate through all those areas and some of the tough bumps that come with teams that don't have guys that have been in the league. Solanas will see a strike there. It's 1-1. Waiting on deck is Nick Stinson. Archer, a quick look back towards Murdoch, and he's going to take off for third, and he's probably going to make it home on that. All the way out to left field, a slow roller as Carson Chan will toss it to Volcano. First run of the game across for the Berries, and a great play by Ethan Murdoch to get the jump over at second. He read it well before the ball even reached the bat, and that pays off for the Berries. The Mavericks are a team that do not score early in games. It's something that has started to haunt them a bit. They at least don't score in bunches early in games. And that's why they fall behind so many times. And they're behind here against the Berries in the third inning. And you think there's still 2 on here with just the 1 out. More chances for Saskatoon to pile on runs. Archer. Pitch is going to miss here as his command has taken a turn for the worst. Batter at the plate is Nick Stinson. On deck is Nathan Houston. Mavs would like something on the ground, look to turn 2. Here's a slow roller. Archer will pick it up, go back to second. They get one. Bouncer on the dirt, double play. Johnny Volcano's throw was in time. Volcano not sure that he had it to start, but Frankie Giacalone on the other side picks it up off the 1 hop, and the Mavs limit the damage, only giving up 1 to a Berries offense that can chug and chug, but they only get 1 there as Murdoch coming across to score off of a single by Solanas, and that gives those in blue the lead. The Mavs yet to get through their entire batting order here as we've reached the third inning. Their offense has yet to turn on, and that is a theme, as we've mentioned. Early innings for the Mavericks bats, not usually a place where they find success. It's a chance to heat up, warm up. It's it's the track star approach. You got to go for a bit of a jog. You got to do a dynamic warm-up before you actually get into a race and sprint off. And for the Mavs, it's not something that has come easy starting early. And here, trailing by 1 again in the early going. This could be a big bottom of the third here, and it'll be Carson Chan who bats first, Johnny Volcano, and then Josh Stark. They can flip it over to the top of their order early on, especially with the way that Evan Morrison has started to emerge. Could be a chance to get things back. Quinones would like that pitch back as he put it wide, and it's going to be 1-0 here to Carson Chan, who played really well. He had his best game of the season against the Berries at their place. 2 hits in that game. Chan steps up there and no swing, so it's 2-0. Quinones faced him last time and had trouble with Chan. He's one of the only Mavericks batters who he really had a problem with. Misses wide again. Carson Chan actually homered, I believe, against Quinones in that game. It was his first home run within the WCBL. I might fact check myself on that, but I'm pretty confident that that's who it came off of. I know it was in Saskatoon. Pitch is wide and a 4-pitch walk to Carson Chan, who almost gets the Barry Bonds treatment here. And I guess he's been that against the Saskatoon Berries, so maybe a smart play. Lead runner on here for Medicine Hat. And it's early to start talking about tying run and leading run, but that would be the run that would tie the game for Medicine Hat. Johnny Volcano in at shortstop again. His batting average has been impressive this year, and I think overlooked at times. He's batted in the lower half of the Mavericks lineup, but he's done lots of good within the batter's box, and he's become more consistent as a hitter. Quinones, first pitch to Volcano is a strike. I asked Johnny prior to the game, I said, your batting stance looks so much different. And he said during the collegiate year, he felt like he was kind of getting stiff, and he wasn't as mobile, so to say, in the batter's box. So he wanted to be a bit more loose and change the approach. Is that one going to miss for a ball there? No swing. Oh, they are going to say that there was a swing for Volcano. And an interesting call over at first base. This will be an 0-2 count here to Johnny instead. Quinones, low approach that time. And the pitch, a swing and a miss for Volcano as he strikes out. First out of the inning for Medicine Hat. Brings up a guy who has not gone out at home a lot, and that is Josh Stark. Right in his backyard here in Medicine Hat. It seems like it. He's playing loose, and he has become a natural at hitting the ball into Athletic Park's outfield. Quinones lets the arm dangle. Still has Carson Chan to worry about at first. Chan getting back, and he'll be safe. There's a long way to go back there for Carson Chan. Not knowing for stealing bases, at least in his time in the WCBL. Quinones. Stark, a swing and a miss. He's behind on that pitch. After a blazing start to the season for Stark, he spent a little bit of time out of the lineup, and ever since then, he's had to readjust to playing in the WCBL. There's been some ups and downs, and as of recent, they've been more apparent. Quinones. Stark was jammed there. He didn't swing, and so it'll be 2-1. Stark is really good at working from behind in counts, and that's not something that you can say about a lot of the guys, but when he has 2 strikes on him, he actually seems to perform better. Those desperation moments or when he has shined, we'll see how he does in a count that looks a little bit different here. Quinones. That one will miss away. Count up to 3-1 against Stark. Carson Chan over at first base. Quinones, the long lean over. Here comes the pitch. Stark pops this one up. Should be playable. Just depends on who's going to call for it. It looks like it's the first baseman in Stinson, and he'll make the grab for out number 2. So Carson Chan still on first. The Mavericks unable to advance him through 2 as Volcano down on strikes, and down via catch in the infield is Josh Stark. Evan Morrison, he would like a double like he had last time, especially with Chan on the move. Quinones, first pitch to Morrison. A strike as it catches the outer half of the plate. Diego Quinones not playing like a guy who has a 5 ERA, and maybe that's just something the Mavericks bring out in him. He's did well in his first game, and it seems like the same here in his second against Medicine Hat. Quinones, this time that'll dust up the dirt and move things to 1-1. Quinones, not always just a baseball player. In high school, it was football that was his other fancy. Quinones, a bit of a squat before he turns his attention back to Morrison. Morrison down the line and just foul. Well, that was a rocket right towards the Berries dugout. If that gets through, Carson Chan would be off on his way to third base, and maybe another extra base hit for Morrison, but he'll reset looking for more again. Chan being held on over at first, and a pitch is low. So it'll be 2-2 now to Morrison. Chan still waiting around for a chance to run over at first base. Two outs here in the bottom of the third after the Berries just took a 1-0 lead. Quinones. Morrison fouls it off and to that same side where he hit the last one. Long stretch of games coming up here for Medicine Hat at home after they see the Berries. Of course, they get them tomorrow. They'll have an off day on Thursday, and then it is Sylvan who they'll see for 2, and just before that, Swift Current. Quinones, quick flinch over to first. Back in time is Chan. A couple of times that Quinones is checked over behind him. Morrison getting impatient at the plate. He wants a chance to swing here. Quinones, Morrison, pitch will miss, and it is a full count. Evan Morrison, just 1 home run at home this year. Quinones, the long lunge. Chan going to take off, and Morrison will take off, not having to move as fast. It is a walk on a full count here to Evan Morrison, and a runner back into scoring position in the form of Carson Chan. Morrison to first. And that will send ahead Blake Dale. Not the start to his evening that Blake Dale wanted. He's got a chance again here with a couple of runners on. Had one on last time he came up to the plate. See if he's figured anything out about Quinones this time. Dale gets under this one. Could cause trouble for Murdoch and left, but he's going to have it land under him. And the Mavs leave more runners stranded here as Blake Dale didn't quite get all of that one. It is still a 1-0 Berries lead through 3.
Have you ever wondered if there's one thing that connects people from across our province? Something that connects the coffee shop to the spray park, or the brewery to the rodeo, the campground to the sports field. It's pretty amazing when you think about how it's all connected, because it truly is. And it's all we think about, so you don't have to.
For more than 40 years, we've been there. helping Canadians find the extra space they need to grow and to create new memories. Sentinel Storage. Buy Canadian, store Canadian.
We're everywhere you are. Stringham, your local lawyers.
Top of the fourth inning here in Medicine Hat, and away from Medicine Hat and around the world of sports, a lot going on. Mentioned the NBA draft tonight. AJ DeBonsa being selected first overall, the BYU product. You see a couple of BYU products in the WCBL as well throughout the years. And of course, the NHL trades that went on today. I could list them all, but we'd be here for about the entire broadcast. Here's Derek Archer, who's a St. Louis Blues fan, and the Blues trading away Jordan Kyrou today, who was one of their franchise cornerstones. He was moved to Washington, so maybe pitching with a little bit of extra fire today as Archer, knowing that he won't get to watch Kyrou next year. 0-1 count here to begin the inning, and that very well could be 0-2. No swing is the call, and interesting, the Volcano swing, I didn't feel like that one was as much as the one we just saw from Nate Houston, but first base umpires got better eyes than I do. Pitch is going to miss in the dirt, and I don't just mean that sarcastically. I mean, I'm wearing glasses right now, so how good can my vision really be? It looks like he's got 20/20 vision out there. No glasses on his face, so naturally born with good eyes. That's not something that everyone has. 2-1 count. This one ripped just foul, and scooting out of the way there was the third base umpire. He had to have good eyes too. Otherwise, that one was labeled right for his kneecap. Getting the first out has not been a problem for Derek Archer in this game. Same can be said for getting the first strike to each count. A tough opponent in Nate Houston. Mentioned he was an all-star with Moose Jaw, spent 2 years there. This is his second year here with the Berries. He played in one of the more memorable games here at Athletic Park. As Archer will send one and back the other way, going with it into right center field is Nathan Houston. Thought about two, and he'll hold up. And that game that I was alluding to that Nathan Houston was in is, since the year 2024, the only game that has had 14 different WCBL All-Stars play in it. And he was one of the many that were in that game. And back here tonight again. He's done damage in the past at this park, more so when he was wearing yellow. Last year was a bit of a different look for Houston. He's on first base here, and Josh Henson comes up to the plate. Henson reached last time against Archer. 0-1 count here. Johnny Volcano will be looking for another double play. He got one to go his way last time. Houston very fast. He'll have to move quickly on his way to second as this one popped up right above our heads. And you hear that one, pinballing in the background. And I'm pleased to be joined with, as always. You were kind of on the show before it even started, James, and you may not have known it, making a call from down below for me on the Evan Morrison play. But we welcome you officially back up to the broadcast for another night.
Thanks, Truman. I wasn't expecting to almost get hit by a ball.
This one popped up towards Evan Morrison. Hit much later in his direction than ours, and that will be out number one. Derek Archer has done a good job getting early outs and early strikes so far.
Yeah, he has. He's been really aggressive on the mound and attacking what is a really good hitting Berries lineup, and with kind of what you need to do to nullify them. When I say nullify them, there's 6 hits today for the Berries, and they have a run across, but he stranded a lot of damage from Saskatoon, or limited the damage here, as he's working into the fourth.
And a throw back towards first to check on Nathan Houston. That's probably a guy you want to check on, James. You've seen a lot of him throughout the years.
Yeah, you want to know where he is at all times, defensively, and even more so on the base paths.
Eric Aguirre at the plate. You mentioned the 6 hits. He's yet to get one. Throw down to second. It banks off of Houston's helmet. Covering there was Volcano, so he doesn't have a chance to get to it quick enough. And Nathan Houston off to third base. people are wondering, why was Johnny Volcano not in his usual spot? He's actually supposed to be behind the second baseman in case that throws offline. So that's the reason he was on the other side.
You plan for an overthrow. You don't plan for a ricochet in a left field, right? So you can only do so much there. And now Derek Archer's got to work around Houston at third.
Back to Aguirre. He's going to hit this one. Should get a run in. And Blake Dale had trouble receiving that ball off the dirt. It's a 2-0 lead. And one on. Still only one out here for the Mavericks, who give up. I guess we'll see what this is scored. It's scored as an error, so still just the 6 hits. And that's been a problem, James. Those errors for the Mavericks.
They have, whether it's tonight or all season, it just comes at the wrong moment. They're not leading the league in errors by any means, but it's just the wrong time. You get there, a runner scores, it was going to happen regardless, but could have had 2 outs now and nobody on. So it's just seizing the moment, and the Mavs right now, the moment is just not working in their favor.
There's teams that you can get away with that against. The Berries are a team that you have to play nearly a perfect game to be able to even be in the running with them. Forget about win outright. Not a lot of teams can go step for step with this team. 2-0 here. A different look for Derek Archer. Mentioned the early strikes, and he's yet to throw one in the direction of Nash Nichols. Nichols, a swing and a miss there, is looking to get back to it as Archer. We'll get a total on how many strikes he's thrown so far. I got to assume, James, it's fairly high. Runner slipped behind Archer. He didn't even move. He would have had him if he had turned over towards Frankie Giacalone.
Would have been a tight pickoff, and he's got 40 strikes right now, trimming of 60 pitches.
That's usually a recipe for success.
It's pretty good.
So re-leading off over at first base is Eric Aguirre. And here comes the offering that is fouled off by Nichols. Some frustration from Nichols there, who you could see flailing his hand, trying to get his swing path back in check. 2-2 count now. That's fearlessness from Archer. He'll test the zone, and he'll even give one out that he probably shouldn't when he's behind in the count. It's about throwing strikes for the Mavs vet. Back to first, looking to get Aguirre, and the tap not in time.
You know, I think you mentioned it, Truman, just the experience and being an older guy, it allows you the confidence to do whatever you need to do to get a strike or to work your way back into a count, as Archer has here.
Pitch spoiled by Nichols, who had to go way down to grab that one. Not wanting to be in a full count scenario and get the pitch count up is Archer, but something low again. If he swung at the last one, I wouldn't be surprised if Archer tries a short one this time around. Runner still on here, and a swing and a miss as he got him dipping again. Just had to go a little bit lower, and Nichols couldn't hold off.
Pulls the rope there a bit on that pitch and gets his 4th strikeout on the afternoon. It's just, 6 hits, 2 runs against, but he's still working pretty efficiently here in the 4th. And, the Mavs need this. They need some to give a chance, right? We talked about that all year, of just give the offense a chance, and they only have 1 hit right now. But if Archer can keep this at 2 through this inning, that puts him in a good spot for the bottom of the frame.
Archer still has to keep an eye on Aguirre over at first. Pitch to Laird is down low, but the Mavs have been a really weird team this year. In games that the other team scores a lot of runs, they'll do the same. They just won't score enough. In games where it's low scoring and really close, they don't score any runs, and they aren't able to put up 10, 11 runs like you saw in the Fort Mac game where, it didn't start off pretty, but obviously they were able to meet that high total. One of these days you think it's just going to be a 10-0 game, but not since they played Swift Current have they had that happen.
I would say that's really the only other team. It's the 57s they can blow out and, as we found out Saturday night, be blown out by, right? And lose, I believe, 10-2 it finishes, right? An 8-run difference. So it is just kind of playing to your opponent, but, trying to outplay your opponent is the part they got to work on as well.
2-0 count. Archer. Now the count will be 3-0 here. Nothing for Laird to swing at as he's patient on the first 3 pitches. And the Berries, they know what it's like to lose to Swift Current. They've already dropped a game to them this year. Anybody can beat anybody. The amount of times that you can beat somebody, there's a cap to that, it seems. Archer, high pitch, a 4-pitch walk to Laird. And it looks like Ryan Reed is starting to walk around in the dugout, and walking out of the dugout now is Andrew Bench. I'm not sure if anybody will warm. This is pretty early for Derek Archer, who has been known to go later into some games.
Yeah, I think it is just kind of a get him in his motions again and get him, some breaths into him here with this little break. And, to your point about anyone can lose to anyone, it feels like, Truman, there's a lot of parity, I'll call it, in the league this year. Swift Current is low in the standings in the Mavs division, and look the other side, Brooks is also low, but they've been able to beat top teams as well. So it is, I don't know if that's the top team falling down to the Swift Current level or if it's Swift Current able to rise up in games, but we've seen a lot of wins maybe catch you by surprise as the year's gone on.
Well, and you think about, Sylvan Lake losing to Brooks after they hadn't won a game all year, and I think they've lost to them twice now, so nobody would have expected that, especially after the season that Sylvan had a year ago. But as you mentioned, anyone can take anyone on any given day, and the Mavericks hoping that works in their favor against a much better team, at least that's been shown so far, in the Berries. 1-0 count here to Ethan Murdoch. This is the guy you want up with runners on, and it feels like he's due to hit one long. It hasn't been the home run total that he would have pictured for himself this year. This out towards right field. Did I call it on the fly? Stark towards the wall, and he just holds it in on the warning track. I'm not sure if that's an announcer's jinx, but it's pretty close. 2 left on for the Berries, and Ethan Murdoch unable to take one deep. His stretch without a home run continues.
I'm sure just a little bit more on it, it would have gone. But for the Mavs' sake, it doesn't go big fly and they luck out.
Murdoch must know. Usually it's a left to right wind. Today, however, the flags aren't moving. So it's the one day where he probably couldn't get away with that swing. And the Mavs thankful, but they still trail by 2 through or after the top of 4.
Yo, Dustin, you going?
Yes.
Can I join you guys? All right, let's go.
Whether it's on the ice or on our app, always play for the fun of the game. Gamble responsibly with Play Alberta.
For more than 40 years, we've been there, helping Canadians find the extra space they need to grow and to create new memories. Sentinel Storage. Buy Canadian, store Canadian.
Frankie Giacalone, a BP hero earlier today, and nearly had that translate into the game with a deep flyout in his first time at the plate. Giacalone has been red hot in the home run hitting department recently, and he's making a good case for maybe a potential spot in the home run derby, which talked about the All-Star game being in Saskatoon, as this one's driven out towards center field, and it will hang up long enough for Nash Nichols to make the play. The ball just isn't traveling very far, James. This is not Colorado.
No, it's not. And it's not Brooks either, where we saw Giacalone hit 2 home runs on Sunday in the Mavs comeback, 9th inning comeback win over the Bombers. And I think, Truman, I don't want to reach too far. It's been a weird year, atmospheric. I don't know what you're blaming on here at Athletic Park, but the ball is not flying like we've seen. Maybe as it's the rain and it's more humid but it doesn't feel humid. I am not a scientist, but there's something keeping the ball in the park this season here at AP.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the hills beyond us have grown a bit, and now that has changed. I don't really know what's going on. I'll be real.
They're man-made hills, Truman.
And I'm not really sure what was going on there. Nathan Houston, a stout defender, bobbles that ball. Carter Roth to first, and that is chalked up to an error almost immediately by our scorekeeper in Garth.
Yeah, he's not letting that one. No one can think about that one. And for the Mavs, it's a good way to start. You get Carter Roth on, who can run a little bit here and try to pass the torch here and get a run on the board.
So from one Ontario guy to another, and Nathan Houston, more familiar with the Saskatchewan parts, talked about his relation to Moose Jaw. He's obviously connected to Saskatoon through the Berries. He's from Regina, and he went to high school in Melville. So he's pretty much got a pin in every place on his map of where he's traveled to throughout Saskatchewan. 0-1 count here to Calder, who swings and misses.
Do you think he's pet the moose in Moose Jaw? The
I don't
world's largest
know.
moose?
I don't even think I've seen it before. Quinonez's pitch is low here.
Have you driven by Moose Jaw before? Like going
I've been
towards
through it. I've been there before.
You've seen it then. It's on the side of the road. It's on.
I was talking about how I have bad vision earlier tonight. I guess that plays into this.
It's right on the Trans-Canada Highway, Truman. You would see it. It would stand out a little bit.
Probably at one point, maybe when he was with the Miller Express. Maybe now that he's left Moose Jaw, it's a Kevin Durant thing where they don't want to let him back.
Yeah.
Kind of a rite of passage touching the Moose.
Yeah, the Moose man won't allow it.
Do you know him personally? Maybe you could get privilege for Houston.
We'll see what we can do.
1-1 here to Calder. Pitch is going to sail outside. Quinonez licks his fingers every time he throws a pitch. That's something you see from a lot of pitchers, but his is almost a bit more aggressive. It's a part of his routine. Calder, favorable count here, looking for some contact with the one out already on the board for the Mavs. Carter Roth, good speed over at first base. Doesn't have a long lead off. Calder flicks that one backwards, and it's 2-2.
There was a couple twitches there by Roth. It looked like he kind of really wanted to get that jump and get going. And, it's tough now with 2 strikes and 1 out. You really don't want to strike him out, throw him out to end the inning, but I think he really wants to get to second as quick as he can here.
Well, and there is something special about being able to read the ball off the bat or even before it gets to the bat. And we saw Ethan Murdoch do that earlier in this game, a bit too risky, as you mentioned, with Roth at first. Calder, a bullet over towards right field. That's down for a base hit. Roth rounds second. He's looking towards third. They're going to stop him up. It's a double for Calder. And the Mavs have 2 in scoring position. And that's becoming a trademark over with the extra base hit for Eric Calder, the bow and arrow celebration.
He likes it. I don't know if it's a nod to Derek Archer or what, if that's just what he did at college as well for Calder. But that's a nice hit to pull that just down the line. And it looked close from up here. And not close to question it, of course. But, now you get the 2 runners in scoring position. You pass the torch on to Nate King to try to do some damage.
Situationally, this is a good look for the Mavericks. They love what Nate King has done, and Nate King has loved what he has done. He's playing some of the best baseball of his career. King up the middle and into center field, and that's why Roth is across to score, and it is now a 2-1 game with Calder looming over at third. Nate King an RBI single and an aggressive slap to the hand of Chad Martin at first.
And with Nate King at the plate there and runners on second and third, you knew there was going to be some kind of contact made. He was more than likely going to put the ball in play. He takes it up the middle there, and, if it's not any other other runners on third there, it's maybe 2 runs come in on that hit, and the Mavs tie it up. But now you're in a spot where you got runners on the corners, Calder at third, King at first, and Carson Chan gets to try to his hand at doing some damage.
And the Barry Schmusher, the jam man you could call him, and Carson Chan, who has played well against the Berries, a leadoff walk in this game as he came in at the bottom of the second inning, I believe was his first at-bat. Bottom of third inning. I'm getting crossed up here, and managed to make that, hit his first home run, as we mentioned earlier. off of the Berries and Quinones. What does Chan have in store this time with runners on the corners? The 0-1. Chan softly hit. A spin towards second. Chan to first, and he's safe, and the ball game is tied. Eric Calder in to score. Some indecisiveness from Nick Stinson allowed the Mavs to make everything happen all at once.
You know, and that is a tough one. You think maybe at first to go home. Then he looks to, realizes he's got to go to first, and no one's there. You know, coaches will say before the ball's hit, know where you're going with it. Whether it's right to two, first, maybe look home, and then go to your plan. And Stinson just isn't able to execute there, and the Mavs find some luck, tie the game, and are in a good spot again.
What do you even score that?
Fielder's choice, I think.
Because it's not an error. You can't score it as an error, even though it was an error in judgment there by Stinson.
It looks like it's scored a hit. Single to first base.
So it'll be a 1-0 count. Quinona is now going to have a chat with Gavin Panks. Johnny Volcano up, struck out on 3 pitches in his last at-bat. It's the first ball he's seen today. Panks will head back behind home plate. Quinones will reset. There was a pitcher warming up just briefly on the Barrie side. We haven't seen any action on the Mavericks end. And why should you? Both pitchers have had really good games. I know they've each given up a pair of runs, but they've commanded the strike zone well, and they've been hitting their spots.
Yeah, they have, and they're both efficient, right? They're working pretty good, well, clean on the mound, and it allows them to stay in longer.
And a clean piece of hitting here for Johnny Volcano out into left field. Being waved around is Nate King. He's headed for home. He's in, and the Mavericks have a 3-2 lead down early, but it has been a big bottom of the fourth.
Yeah, and you need this. You see Saskatoon score runs in back-to-back innings for a 2-0 lead, and for the Mavs just to chip away with singles, really. You know, a couple balls hit into the infield, one from Carson Chan stayed in the infield, and for them it's a successful way to bring in 3 runs and, you know, force Saskatoon now into a tough situation, as Joe Carnahan comes to the mound.
The 13th time that Nate King has come in to score this year, and for Johnny Volcano, you know, the hits, we've seen more from him this year to begin the year than in a couple of years past, and he's been fighting it defensively a little bit, but the bat hasn't given up on him quite yet. It'll be his 11th RBI of the year for a guy who came into tonight batting .313. Anything above 300 is usually good.
It is, and in this league as well, right, as guys, you know, maybe takes a little time to warm up or get used to the league. If you can jump out to 300, you know, we're in June, almost done June, frankly. It's amazing how quickly it flies by, but to get to 300 is always a good mark.
You know, there's a saying in the MLB, at least in the Angels franchise, they talk about June Joe for Joe Adell because he plays really well in the month of June. How about June John here for Johnny Volcano, who continues to play well in this month?
I think you could leave it June Johnny.
June Johnny?
Don't have to shorten the name too much.
Josh Stark up to bat. And it was an early June Josh that we saw. But Stark down already tonight. He's 0 for 1 in this game. It was a pop-up. And he'll settle in here with 2 runners on. Pitcher back to warming up behind Quinones. 0-1 pitch to Stark. This one grounded towards Stinson. He'll elect for first this time. Both runners will advance, and he wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. That one a little more clear-cut.
Yeah, he made the right play there. Softly hit ball, Volcano running on the play, and, you know, just turns and gets the easy out, and really the only opportunity he had to make it 2 outs here for the Berries.
Evan Morrison back up to the plate. It feels like we just saw him. 1 hit in this game already, 1 walk. As long as he can stay out of the strikeout territory, that's what Morrison's looking for. That's kind of been the only hindrance to his game. And it's been why his average has dropped to start this season. As it's 1-0 here to Morrison.
You know, now would be a good time. It's easy to say, but, you know, they're playing him to pull as we usually expect from Evan Morrison. Slap one into left field if you can. There's a big hole between third and short, and, you know, bring in a couple runs.
This one over towards Houston. On a line to first. A high catch from Stinson. That will end the inning. two stranded in scoring position, but the Mavs, they get 3 back, and they take the lead for the first time in this game, up 1 through 4 at home. Hey, that got them to the finish line last time when they grabbed a 1-run lead. Still lots of ball to be played against the Berries in this one. Top of 5, and an inning ago it was a 2-0 lead for the Berries. A scrappy way to get it, and the Mavs, they scrap away and do the same thing, but they do it in a condensed version, all in one, and they get 3-1. Up to the plate to begin this inning as Gavin Panks started his day with a single.
Yeah, the way the Mavs scored the runs the last inning, it's kind of like what we saw from the Fort McMurray Giants last week of just put the ball in play, single, the one in the infield that a play couldn't be made by the Berries, and, it works, right? It got 3 runs and grabbed them a lead.
0-2 to Panks, who will shake his head. Quite animated is Gavin Panks. We've seen it a couple times. He's more so mad at himself. It hasn't been disagreeing with anybody else other than his swings. Panks, bat on the shoulder here as he'll wiggle it and wait for Archer, who aggressive in his attack. That fouled off. Count will stay put at 0-2.
Sometimes guys, if they saw a pitch they thought they should have done damage on, get a little frustrated with themselves and just, got to remind themselves where to stay, where they want their swing, and, how they want to be approach the at-bat.
Archer. And he gets Panks looking. Panks not happy. This time he offers some advice for the umpire at the very end. So I guess not all the emotion is directed towards himself as we see him with some words on his way away from home plate. One down here. It'll be Gael Solanas at second base who will check in. This middle part of the order, James, it's one of the most dangerous in the leagues. You look at the names and the numbers, and you almost have to go, how can one team have so many good players at once? Solanas over to Blake Dale. There's out number 2, a short trip over to Jackaloni at first.
The Berries, really, since they broke into the league, Truman, have done a really good job of building that team and deepening the lineup. And the biggest thing has been, can they hold on to everyone come playoff time? And that's not because players want to leave Saskatoon. It's just how college works and the eligibility and when schools want guys back. And that's, from the outside, that's kind of what it looks like has plagued the Berries the last couple of years come postseason.
Stinson puts this one foul. His collegiate season was spent playing for Belmont University. And we always mention NCAA tournament teams here and there. All I remember about Belmont is that they had this guy named Dylan Windler who had a really good college season playing college basketball, made the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Windler playing baseball, and didn't get into a lot of action, only had a .210 batting average with Belmont University this year. But maybe he can be the next hero and the next guy to star in a big tournament for Belmont. 0-2. Archer, quick stride, freezing Stinson, and it's a little bit high.
I think he wanted that one. I like the change to it looked like a fastball up and everything was down and try to get him looking up there for a swing or a looking strike, and he doesn't get either.
Archer shakes off the first two, and he continues to disagree with the calls. Now him and King settle on an option. Pitch will be low, and tucking the bat is Stinson. He'll hold off. A shutdown inning after gaining runs. Very key. The Mavs on the brink of that here. Archer, 2-2 count. Stinson waiting on the delivery, and again using that outside half to his advantage and painting a strike is Derek Archer. The Mavs lead still intact at 1. A 1-2-3 inning as they drown the Berries in strikes courtesy of Archer on the mound.
He didn't get that call 2 pitches earlier on the outside, goes back to it after a pitch low, and whether it was just a little bit more inside or it looked a little bit more like a strike, gets the call and quietly racks up the strikeouts this evening here. Truman, 7 now through 5 innings, and Derek Archer, he's top 5 in the league in strikeouts, and we're seeing why if he's able to just work through at bats efficiently, and whether it's putting pitches into hitters' minds of what they think is going to come next or finding the edge of that strike zone. He's had a lot of success, to start the year for the Mavs, and it's what you expect from a senior arm like that.
Yeah, and he has sprung on to the scene here, and his spring was spectacular. But now we turn over a new leaf, and we're into the summertime, James. Can that continue for him? The Mavs need to have a big summer half if they want to get into the summer dance, which, of course, the playoffs in August.
Yes, they do, and, summer started Sunday, right? The Mavs' big comeback win in Brooks. So, baseball, they're called the boys of summer. Maybe that's all the Mavs needed, Truman, was just that summer officially hit the calendar, and, they try to ride that. And, for Derek Archer specifically, you want one guy, right? We always talk about Moose Jaw with Weston Walls and what he's able to do when you pencil his name in for, a game 1 start of the playoffs. And if the Mavs can have that with Derek Archer, it just solidifies things throughout, whether it's the rotation or the bullpen of, what you're going to get more nights than not from the righty.
In the past 4 years for the Mavs, they have had that game 1 starter penciled in. Think about the run in 23, Dylan Escobar. 24, Jacob Petersheim. 25, you had 2 options. You could have gone with Luis Diaz or Xander Roberts. They went with both of them in game 1, game 2 separately. Diego Quinones, been a factor in a part of the Berries playoff run. That was last year, and it was short-lived, shorter than they would have expected. They got through Moose Jaw and then stifled by Regina, who also beat the Mavs.
Yeah, that Regina team, we've talked about it all season. They weren't going to be denying that playoff run.
And denied a strike there. Missing on the inside half was Quinones. A 1-1 count and some warming up going on behind him. This is a really good Saskatoon Berries bullpen, and it's led by Tanner Hosek, who's normally in the closing role. This one pulled wide by Blake Dale, and that'll run the count up to 1-2. Don't believe this is Hosek down there right now. I believe he wears 55. This looks more like a 32. And if that is correct, and it is a 32, then it will be Brooks Jones. Quinones, hoping that his day isn't done yet. Here's a short hit one. Stinson, an acrobatic play, and I think he caught that before it hit the ground. Didn't need even to go and touch first base.
I thought the same thing. He kind of snow coned it there and grabbed it, but better safe than sorry, and better out than sorry in their case for the Berries there. And he gets the first out there, on the pop out, I guess you would call it. Wouldn't call it a fly out.
It's a bit of a scary play too. If you're trying to catch one, almost a basket catch of sorts, and you're bending down, sometimes the ball can take a hop and go over your shoulder. So Stinson, right place, right time over near first. One out for Frankie Giacalone, who's hit the ball well in this game, but he hasn't hit it well enough. He's got 2 into 2 good positions, but he hasn't been able to get one over the fence and get one into play. Pitch misses there from Quinones, who is looking to go on the outer half. 1-1 here to Giacalone, who has a quick chat with the home plate umpire. Giacalone, a violent swinger. Quinones, that time framed well behind the plate by Panks. He's got a quick glove. He's talk about painting the zone if you're a pitcher. He's almost doing the reverse as a catcher. He seems to be reverse throwing it with his glove in a way.
He does a really good job framing the ball and the pitches for steal strikes.
A high throw there as the sun getting into the eyes of Stinson. Good conversion there by Nate Houston, who's played here before, so he understood where to put it.
You know, and it's a part of this park and just where the sun sets at nighttime, and even in the afternoon games, it's just there all afternoon, and you know, first baseman and the rest of their infield get to combat it and try to set up ahead of time how they want throws at different times of the night.
Carter Roth, you talk about setup. His routine-wise and how he set himself up before getting to the plate was the same all season long at Doane, and chatted with his dad before the game as he'll swing and miss on the first pitch. And he mentioned that he felt his routine had changed a little bit once he came to Medicine Hat, and Roth hoping to get back to what he was doing before and hoping that his play also follows. He hasn't had a down year, but he always hopes that it can be better. There's a bouncer in the dirt from Quinones. No chase from Roth, who stays put on those pitches most of the time.
You know, we don't see a lot of chase from his game, especially in the outer half. He's usually pretty secure on the plate and where it is, and you know, he's pretty confident in his ability.
Roth pokes this one into center field, and that's a good old Carter Roth at bat as he goes into the short part of the park. But he makes teams pay with slap contact like that all the time, and that can become annoying for a pitcher. But when you can repeat it like Roth does, that's what makes him special.
Yeah, and it's just the consistency that we've come to expect, and you know, he's showing up every night just with that. You know, you're going to get hard work, and you're going to likely get a hit or two, and you know, they're going to touch the grass almost barely, but you know, there is a little power in there as well. So it is just all around kind of ball talent we've seen from the Stratford, Ontario product.
And Eric Calder, him and Roth combining well together last time. That jump-started the Mavs offense, and they get another twirl at it here in the bottom of the fifth. They do have to work with 2 outs, but the Mavs, a good 2-out team.
They found success at that. Sometimes they like, maybe it's the added pressure treatment. I don't know what it is, but it's worked.
Quinones. Action in the bullpen has come to a standstill here. Maybe trying to feel out what the starter in this game, Quinones, will do from here on out. Pitch misses on the outside here for Quinones, and it's 1-1. We haven't seen Carter Roth attempt to steal a lot, and for a guy with his speed, you wonder when he's going to be given the green light.
He's had a couple here and there, you're right. He kind of spreads it out, really picks his moment, and you know, same as the last time that he was on base, it's tough in a 2-out spot now. You don't want to be the final out.
Calder nearly fouled that one off his foot, but I think he danced around it. Teammates mentioned he's not the most fleet of foot, but he plays a solid first base, and not being fleet of foot helps him in the box because he can stay composed, stay grounded, and stick to his approach.
He does. You know, I think I talked about it a couple broadcasts ago. It reminds me a lot of, you know, Chris Davis from the Baltimore Orioles, and stands pretty tall as a lefty and has some power in his bat, but he, you know, he holds his ground, and you know, he's not moving around too much or doesn't get phased by whether it's a foul ball or close pitches inside.
Quinones has been favoring the outside here, looking for Calder to chase. He didn't get an offering on either.
You know, I think he wants to stay away from the pull ability from Eric Calder, try to get him, you know, either if he has to spray it the other way or roll over it, you know, trusting the left side of his infield.
And that's interesting because I asked Calder about, does he like the ball inside? And he says, no, I actually feel like I struggle there. So Quinones going away from him, and it's playing right into Calder because he's seeing it really well.
I don't know if he's trying to steal the same strike that Archer got last inning, that outside top corner, and it's not working for him now as it's a full count. And, you know, Carter Roth, we're going to see him moving here on this pitch.
That's learning the umpire's zone. And I guess adapting to it, too, if you're Quinones.
It's kind of the game within the game, it feels like.
Roth going to go. Calder, a swing and a miss, and that will close out the bottom of the fifth. Diego Quinones with a much-needed strikeout. We saw Archer overcome some adversity. Now little for Quinones with one on as well. And the Berries stay right close to the Mavs lead here. Still a one-run game as we head into the sixth. Former leadoff hitter with the Moose Jaw Miller Express, and beginning this inning in technically the innings leadoff spot is Nathan Houston for the Saskatoon Berries. Had an error short earlier in the game. Made a nice play in the last with the arm, or I guess the inning before for that. First pitch here from Derek Archer is a ball. Archer still out there, and that's a good sign for the Mavs. You know, they got a lot of games coming up, and preserving bullpen arms is always important. No swing as they check down to first base.
You know, he falls behind 2-0 here against Houston. Not a guy you really want to get on or have get on to lead off an inning. Just with his speed, it plays into Saskatoon's hand if you can.
And that is awfully close, but called ball 3. Houston, the only one of those on the Berries, played with his brother, I believe, when he was with the Moose Jaw Miller Express. We see lots of family ties in the WCBL. Archer, a 4-pitch walk to Nathan Houston. And now there is some action in the Mavericks bullpen. Lots of bodies starting to get up and move around and find their spots.
You know, it's only a 1-run lead, so you want to kind of hold things where they're at for the Mavs and not let Saskatoon get too much momentum here, to try to tie this game up or even grab a lead.
Bottom of the order here for Archer is he'll see Josh Henson, Eric Aguirre, and potentially Nash Nichols. Archer back to the strike zone. He goes this time. It's 0-1 to Henson.
You know, it's back-to-back at-bats where he starts it off with an off-speed top of the zone, and I don't know if that's just to throw hitters off. It'd be interesting to see if he does it a third time here with the next batter and, just try to change things up as the game wears on and, facing the same guys a couple times.
This time, velo up a bit, and looks like, there's 3 strikes on the board, but only 2 strikes on the count. I looked over. I was kind of polarized. That was a polarizing figure, that 3. I was like, that doesn't belong there ever. Archer over towards first to check on Houston. What we haven't talked about yet is Houston goes back. He's being sent off to second base.
It looks like they're calling Archer for a balk on that play.
Wow.
It's kind of the one thing in the sport you can't argue. They get to quick night to the showers for that one, but it's a frustrating one for Archer and the Mavs here. You had Houston at first here and looking for a strikeout. Now the fast runner's on second.
Yeah, that changes the look of this inning completely for the Mavs here with nobody out. And was there a chase there? Pointing down. Oh, no swing. Wow. James, I'm not an umpire. I'll never claim to be an umpire. But that one, there's not a lot of words to describe how that one wouldn't have been a swing.
No, you look at Johnny Volcano earlier in the game, had a strike called against him on a similar swing. Looks like it broke the plane. Can't even fix that plane. And instead it's called a ball now, and Archer has to keep battling here in this at-bat.
I will defend the umpire here. He's not over at first base. Easier to see from that angle, but I think he's going to want that one back. Archer, this time, no question, a strikeout looking, and fate pretty much putting that into play for Archer as he gets the K to Henson.
I almost do feel like, I know, not to harp on the umpire too much, Truman, he's right in front of the at-bat. Like, he's standing in there to his right to second base, and it would be in front of him. But regardless, Archer gets out of that at-bat and gets that first out.
I'm not sure if there's a right answer to this. I think the side angle would be easier.
Well, there was, and it was a strike, but they didn't, in our opinion, I guess, or my opinion at least.
Here's one. Volcano ranging out. Houston's got great speed. He's going to fly into it. Throw to the plate won't be there in time, and we're tied at 3 apiece. So a balk and an interesting call that didn't really end up mattering in the end, but the Berries have tied it, and regardless, they were going to score another run at some point in this game. We mentioned this kind of during the break, James. They're too good to keep off the score sheet, and it is going to be a tug of war if the Mavs want to pull out a win.
It is. It's hard to keep them off the board, and you have a block work against you there, and it puts that runner in scoring position, and sometimes that's how the hand is dealt, and now the Mavs have to try to hold this game tied at 3-3 and turn it over to the bottom of the frame.
And here comes Nash Nichols. He'll lay down a bunt. Archer spinning to first, and Giacalone will just get him in time. I'm not sure if that's a makeup call or not. It was pretty close. I do believe Giacalone had the upper hand and an emphatic pump off the base as well.
It was pretty bang, and credit to Derek Archer getting off the mound quick, no hesitation, between him or Nate King. He grabbed that ball and picked it up and fired it down to first and gets that out that he needs. And you like seeing that, a pitcher being able to defend right in front of his mound.
But a classic move from Joe Carnahan. He loves to lay down a bunt and move a runner ahead. And for a guy in Nichols that was struggling at the plate, he speaks to his strengths in playing small ball. Leadoff hitter here in Brock Laird. Chance to take the lead here for the Berries with a man on second. Archer trying to get through the sixth and then maybe turn it over to the bullpen. We'll see what Coach Ryan Reed and Andrew Bench, David Dell, what they have in mind.
He's at 90 now, 90 pitches that is, and I don't know how long his rope is or what his ceiling is for a pitch count, but he would be getting close to what I imagine it would be.
1-0 count here to Laird. Archer kicks and then will step off. Pitchers feel like they can pitch all day long. Every game has to be a complete game. They feel like they have that in them. But it's just like if you're building a house, you can try and work on it for most of the day, but eventually you're just going to tire out and you're not going to function very well. So keeping an eye on that for Archer and the Mavs coaches both will be important. Finding that sweet spot of, what's too much and I guess what's not enough.
And a little different than building a house is that you have to do it. Well, to build a house, you got to do it again the next day. Archer gets, starters get a little bit more time off, but you still got to be ready in 4 days or 5 days, however the rotation shakes out, and be ready to go for the next one.
Shout out to all the house builders out there. Here's Archer, 1-1. Pitch is going to be high. Laird will adjust his bat and look back towards Archer, who we've talked about as one of the league's best. Big test here for Laird, and he's got a chance to do some damage. That one's going to get some awkward boos from the fans. And I mentioned awkward because after the last one, they felt it was pretty cut and dry, and now it's awkward when something like that happens for the second time in a row, and you're going, really? But
it's been a tough inning for Archer and Nate King here to steal strikes. They're just not getting the calls they think they should be getting here.
3-1 count. And that sneaks in, and now disagreeing with it is Brock Laird. I got a bit of empathy for Brock Laird that time, especially after the last pitch was not called. Laird's reading the strike zone well in that play. They were in a similar spot.
I think it should be a 3-2 count. I think the way we got to it's unique, but it shook out how it maybe should have.
3-2 pitch. Fouled off. Giacalone doesn't have the distance to be able to get there. Fence obviously in the way, so he'll let that one drift wide. And we'll be back to 3-2. Yeah, you know, it's not always about the journey. It's about the destination. And the destination for Archer, he's hoping that's a trip back to the dugout in strikeout fashion. And Brock Laird is hoping that his spot is over at first base. 3-2 count. Let's do it again. Archer, the pitch. This one is hammered out over to left field. It's going a long way. Top of the wall, and it is grabbed by Carson Chan. Oh, the man with a jam up in the air gets the Mavs out of just that, and he continues to haunt the Berries, and he brings down a massive catch in left.
Yeah, it's a big grab, a big jump there too, and you know, almost goes Michael Jordan with that one, Air Jordan, and catches it, and you know, even big beyond the highlight reel, just keeps this game tied here as the Mavs head to the bottom of the sixth, and you know, a credit to just Carson Chan for keeping that one and making things tied.
You think back to the first game of the year, Carson Chan, a play late in the game, dropped a ball that he kind of got crossed up in the Athletic Park lights. A little bit of revenge here. That one much sweeter and much more difficult. And he took 2 runs potentially off the board. 1 run for sure for the Berries. And he closes out the 6th. Diego Quinones will be back on the mound for the Berries when we reach the bottom half. Lots of drama in this game. Nate King adding to some of that with a big single up into center in his last plate appearance. That helped the Mavs tie the lead, and then he came across. They gained the lead. Carson Chan making sure that it stayed at 3-3 after the catch he made in the last. Berries tying it up in the top half. And now Diego Quinones, still work to do here. Both pitchers will pitch into the 6th inning. Archer survived it. Question is, will Quinones? Pitch to King. There's a strike.
Not a lot of urgency in the Saskatoon bullpen, Truman. It looks like going pitch for pitch with Quinones, so he still has some room, and you know, he's only at 76 pitches right now.
2-1 to Nate King.
Second pitch of this at bat and second ball, both inside on Nate King. Had to shimmy and shake a little bit to get out of the way of the pair.
Chopper over to Houston. Delivers to first. Sun, no problem, and that's out number 1.
Yeah, it's good work by Quinones. Go inside twice, and you know, outside gets Nate King to roll over there to Houston, and you know, just working inside, outside, and changing where the eye is for the batter, and it works out for the Saskatoon pitcher.
Does Carson Chan have a little bit of magic with the bat now, James? As he comes up here in the bottom of the 6th with 1 out after a miraculous catch in the top half. That confidence has to mean something. Like, you think it changes how you walk up to the plate, how you interact with people even. I think a play like that makes you feel like you're on top of the planet.
Definitely. You know, it's all momentum and confidence, and it has to carry over a little bit.
2-0 here to Chan. He walked to start his day. There's a 4-pitch walk from Quinones. Still warming going on in the Barrie bullpen, and fouling that back is Chan. He was going after that pitch there. He knew that he had the chance to see a strike and wanted to make the most of it. From what I hear, the guy warming up in the Mavs bullpen potentially could be Beck Button, who's a new add here for the Mavs out of Weber Academy. That pitch sailing for Quinones. He's had some trouble pulling through when wanting to work to the outside half. It looks like Miguel De Jesus down there getting in some time as well. 3-1 count here to Chan. Quinones on the way. Swing and a miss for Chan, and that will run the count full. Quinones with no pressure behind him, but I think the pressure of the bullpen adds a little bit of an effect. Chan will not offer, and he's got first base once again via a walk.
You know, we've seen the last couple innings here, Quinones chasing that outside pitch, trying to get that strike, and, you know, hasn't got a lot of it here. And, you know, 84 pitches now. We see Joe Carnahan come out. Don't know if that's it for the Berries pitcher, starting pitcher, or not.
And we haven't really talked about Joe Carnahan in this whole thing, and it would be wrong not to talk about a legend within the WCBL. He's one of the all-time greats in two departments, a former MVP, a champion during his coaching time with the Swift Current 57s, really formed that organization in his time there, and then comes in, joins the Berries, and it's another place that players want to play.
Yeah, he's done a really good job of cementing a legacy and really cementing or helping cement the league's legacy, as you mentioned, with Swift Current, and how he helped build that franchise. And, you know, he is the pillar of the Saskatoon Berries, and, you know, spends all year there in the off season with the youth camps and building baseball that way. And then, you know, similar to the Mavericks Academy here in the winter with Greg Morrison. And, you know, I have yet to hear anyone in this league say a bad thing about Joe Carnahan. Maybe that he wins so much would be the only slight against him, but, you know, he's done a really good job of growing baseball in Alberta and Saskatchewan.
And from all accounts, a really, really nice guy. As he's going to go to his bullpen here, and we'll see if it was who initially was warming up. Obviously, things can change down there. They got the YMCA going before the 7th inning stretch. I feel like that is something that is uncharacteristic here at Athletic Park. If you come to a game 7th inning stretch, YMCA, Sweet Caroline, I think there's maybe one or two more in there, but it's like the same 4-song rotation you'll always hear. I guess trying to change up what hasn't been a successful home campaign this year, and going, I guess, in the music form, wizardry through music to change momentum. I'm not really sure what the plan is.
I have heard, Truman, that there's maybe a special song playing in the 7th inning stretch. Family member of a Maverick plays in a band, and they're going to play it here in the 7th inning. So maybe that's why YMCA gets bumped. I'm not sure.
That would be the only way that I would figure.
Yeah.
A rare move, but a common move here. 6th inning. This is sometimes when you see a shuffle on the mound, and Joe Carnahan didn't want to take any chances. Quinones, really good game. We'll get the final line on him in a moment's time, but when you have to pull the trigger, you just have to. And a good play there by Joe Carnahan, and he is going to a guy who's usually a starter if we have the right number, and it looks like him just appearance-wise. It's the Munster Sask native in Adam Cordy, a starter a year ago for the Swift Current 57s, put together one of the best away performances by a pitcher here, was named an all-star for them last year. He has been, over the past 3 to 4 years, a top pitcher in this league, and what a pickup for the Berries this season.
Yeah, he has. He's really been a pillar and was in Swift Current, and I believe, is this not his second season now, Truman, with the Berries?
It's his first season. He was with Swift Current last year. The last time he pitched here came in a walk-off loss to the Mavericks. It was Jeremy Freeman Jr. who sent a ground ball into right field. Cordy had come out of the game at that point. But a bitter taste, I'm sure, leaving Swift Current in that way, and then also leaving the season and Athletic Park in that form. Cordy will check on first base. And I mentioned this during the All-Star broadcast, but a guy with deep roots in baseball, Jim Cordy, who's his grandfather, has a baseball field named after him in Munster, Saskatchewan, where he's from. And the pride of Munster Sask is Adam Cordy and his family. You think about baseball in that community, they're the first people that come to mind.
You know, and that's part of what we've seen the WCBL highlight with the Rural Roots games and those little communities that they've seen, on players' names and have sparked the future of the WCBL.
And the Volcano name synonymous with Maverick baseball is Johnny will take a ball there. It's 3-0. Struggling coming into this game as Adam Cordy. It's interesting that he's not in a starter's role, and I'm wondering if that's maybe throwing him off a bit here. Cordy, 3-0 count. Carson Chan over on first base. Volcano holds up. A pitch inside will hit for strike one.
You know, I wonder, Truman, if it's the same thing we've seen Derek Archer come into a game on a bullpen day. You know, usually he would either throw a bullpen before the game or after. Maybe that's this for Corday. Just pulling up his season stats to see if he's been a starter or worked mostly out of the bullpen.
And a jab at that pitch is, I think, that hit the window right in front of us.
I think it was either the window or the roof.
That's the loudest I think we've ever heard. If that came through the microphone, I wouldn't be surprised. Sorry, the levels may have peaked there for one moment. 3-2 count here. Cordy works his way back against Volcano. 1 out, 1 on. Here's the pitch, and Volcano to a similar location right above us. I don't know if he's got a grudge against the broadcast booth, but that's 2 in our general direction.
I think it's because we mentioned the gloves last home game.
Oh, it might be that gloves and new batting stance.
And for Corday, hasn't started a game yet this season, so he's been working mostly out of the bullpen for Saskatoon.
Cordy a head nod. And a high pitch and a walk to Johnny Volcano on a full count. So back-to-back walks here for the Berries. Does that not surprise you, James, that Adam Cordy has not come in a starting spot? Of course, you never know what universities are requesting or how many innings a guy had prior, but Cordy has been known for coming into games and starting them.
He has been, and I wonder, Truman, you know, it's been 12 innings. This will be, you know, when he gets out of this one, it'll be his 13th inning. You wonder if there's an innings limit, a pitches limit on him, you know, from Peru State University, pardon me, and you know, you got to use them as effectively as you can within that limit. We saw a couple summers ago, Josh Landry with the Mavericks had a lot of innings and was a starter, worked out of the bullpen for the Mavs until the playoffs.
First pitch to Josh Stark is a strike.
Be a pretty good option for Joe Carnahan if he can go game 2 of a playoff Adam Corday start.
It's one of the best options in the entire league for a game 2 start. I can think of maybe 2 or 3 guys that are in this category of should be game 1, get to go game 2. Cordy fouled aside by Josh Stark, who's got 2 runners ahead of him now. And for a guy that has worked well with runners on at home during the season, he gets another look at it here. Stark. I wouldn't call him aggressive at the plate, but fearless. 0-2. Pitch is high from Cordy. That one got away.
You know, Stark's definitely not afraid to swing. I don't, haven't seen him working too many full counts. He wants to try to do damage, and, you know, that's worked a lot this early. Well, I guess it's not that early anymore, but through this part of this WCBL season.
Cordy to Stark, and he just fouls that pitch off. I'm sure he's thankful. 1 out. This is safe territory for Medicine Hat. Once you get to 2 with runners on, then you start to tighten the grip of the bat a little bit. The knees start to flex in a bit, and things change.
You know, and you want to turn it over for, it's the top of the lineup here with runners on, whether Josh Stark can bring one in here or load the bases or however he can roll things over.
This could be 2 for the Berries. Over to second, down to first, a big-time double play. Saskatoon gets through it. 2 on with 1 out, and they make it happen similar to how the Mavs did earlier, and that is what good teams bring. Solid defense and a double play that didn't ever have a doubt. brand new pitcher on the mound making his WCBL debut. It's the underager, an affiliate, Beck Button, and he gets a taste of a veteran right away in Ethan Murdoch. You might call this a bit of a mismatch for Button, but for that sort of confidence to be put on a young guy early on by a Mavericks coaching staff that really doesn't know him, clearly he showed something in his limited impressions that got him on the mound here.
You know, if you're Beck Button, you don't know any different. Just throw, right? It doesn't matter. Ethan Murdoch's one of the best hitters in the WCBL. Just execute your pitches.
And hopefully he hasn't been following along throughout the year, because if you don't know anything about Ethan Murdoch, as you mentioned, just another hitter. Here's one snapped. Volcano, his hat goes down, and the ball is well into his glove. That's out number one.
I don't know what Johnny Volcano was looking for. I don't know if he thought it was going to go through or not, but he gets in position, times the jump at the right time, and quickly secures the first out here in the WCBL for Button.
You know, sometimes when things have been shakier to start a year, you don't believe when you actually make those plays that we have been accustomed to seeing from him. You need to see it to believe it, and that could change things for Johnny Volcano. We talked about it with Carson Chan and some of, obviously, his defensive play tonight, some good plate appearances. For Volcano, he needed a catch like that to kickstart his game.
For sure, and just to roll things, success into success goes a long way of building that momentum the Mavs are kind of looking for, right? Trying to string success and more so wins together.
Beck Button ahead 0-2. There can't be a scouting report on a guy like this. He was added to the roster not long ago, and there's not a whole lot of tape to watch on those Weber Academy guys. I'm sure it's fairly grainy over there.
Sometimes that's the best for the pitcher, right? There's not you don't know what he's throwing, how fast it's coming in, or what he offers. So it can play into your hand as the new guy.
And going righty-lefty is another thing that the Mavericks like. They haven't been able to do that a whole bunch with only Cody Myers being on the roster, and obviously there could be more to come, but for now it has been primarily righties. 2-2 count, Button ahead. He's going to jam the hitter in Panks. Stretching all the way back is Roth and his Doan teammate in Volcano covering behind him, but Roth so good on his feet and really good over at third on defense.
He makes it play and calls it at the right time, and Johnny Volcano veers off, and I like what we've seen so far from Button against a lefty. He looks really, really tough. We see Panks, gets him to jam almost and send things to the left, shallow left field there. But he's really good at attacking lefties that way. We've saw him against Murdoch, the one righty, and we'll get him against another righty here.
Gael Solanas, who's had a decent night at the plate for the Berries, will head back up. 2 hits and an RBI for the righty. Solanas all over that, but wrapping it up, putting a bow, and dropping it in style is Beck Button. Oh, take a bow, Beck. That was impressive.
Welcome to the WCBL. You get to face one of the league's best hitters. Get him to line out, get a pop out, fly out, whatever you want to call it, and then a line drive right back at you. And he handled it all, and for the bigger part for the Mavs keeps it tied 3-3.
A beck of an outing for Button, and the Mavs in a tight one here against the Berries, all square at 3. Hits pretty close as well, 7-6 in favor of Saskatoon as we head on and stretch it out here in the midway point of the 7th. So, James, you kind of murmured a bit an inning ago that a new song may be debuting here at Medicine Hat. We just heard it over the loudspeakers. Wish we could share it with you for copyright reasons. I don't believe we can play it over Flow Sports, but it is a new Maverick theme song as Evan Morrison in early swing here against Adam Cordy. And I'm sure the Mavs, and especially Brad Roth, who made the song, hoping that energizes this group in a tied game.
Energized me a little bit. I like it. And
Morrison out towards center field, looking to settle under it is Nichols right at the warning track, and he bobbled it. Morrison around second. He's being waved to third. He's got the engine, and he is in. Nash Nichols, a late blip over in center. Morrison thought, I think, that he had it off the bat, and it roamed out far enough and caused confusion for the Barries center fielder.
I think it energized Evan Morrison a little bit. Held off on saying that just short, and you don't see that a lot from Nash Nichols, a drop like that. And I don't know if it's where the sun is, Truman, or what. Or I think he was maybe worried about the fence too, saw him bracing against it. Evan Morrison put a charge into that one and find his way onto third.
First pitch strike here to Blake Dale. Often when you play in a new park, you don't know what it's about. This is Nash Nichols' first time, at least with the Barries playing here. I can't speak for probably some of his high school days or when he played prior, but being a youngin in the WCBL, he didn't know his surroundings there, and it caught him off guard. And you think about a guy that struggled at the plate. We mentioned with Carson Chan, a good play in the outfield can translate to good play at the plate. Could it be the reverse for Nichols, who hasn't been able to find his swing?
Sometimes you have to go mind over matter in that point and just separate the two plays, whether it's the miscue in the outfield before the next time you get at bat, just really stay in the moment that we've seen. A lot of Mavs talk about it, hear them talk about. That's Evan Morrison has been the biggest one talking about just staying within the moment and pitch by pitch.
1-2 count here to Blake Dale. He'd like to make this his moment again. He's been clutch throughout the season. Pitch high here from Adam Cordy. Blake Dale, the big home run last game against the Brooks Bombers. Mentioned earlier, he was named Alberta's WCBL Player of the Week. Cordy deals 2-2. Swing and a miss for Dale as he's down on strikes. The first out here in the bottom half of the seventh for Adam Cordy.
You got Frankie Giacalone coming up now. It's a guy that, at this point of the game, you just need a little contact. Put something in the outfield, whether it's on the grass or in the air, score that run from third, and then you can dance from there. But it is just, make the play now. It doesn't have to be a big heroic hit or, anything splashy. Just has to try to bring in that run. And there's room. You see the infield for Saskatoon is playing pretty shallow.
Pitch is going to miss. Morrison's going to run in, and a throw won't even be converted or tried. The Mavericks, unconventionally, take a 4-3 lead.
And that's a credit to Evan Morrison. Wheeled out the triple there. Could have stayed at second on the error by Nichols. And the deep fly ball goes to third. Really wasn't to throw on that play either. And, runs into home quickly. Didn't even have to slide. And the Mavs have their lead again.
Giacalone back to his count at 1-0. And now 1-1. Adam Cordy, usually good in the control department. That's a rare blip for him.
He had a couple in that at bat. One went high that the Barries catcher caught and made sure it didn't bounce off the backstop, and that one just goes wide.
Giacalone crushes this one over to left field. A little California love for the San Diego native, and the Mavs have a 2-run lead.
I don't know what Brad Roth put in that song, but it's worked here in this inning. And, Giacalone gets the top of the berm there. That's some distance, Truman. He got a lot of that one, and, that's 3 home runs now in his last 2 games, and he's swinging a hot bat, and it comes at the big moments. Hit one in the 9th inning last game, gets one here in the 7th, and Mavs, again, have a 2-run lead.
A tank from Frank, that one way far for Frankie Giacalone. And if you watched his batting practice today, that's what it was foreshadowing. Obviously, it comes true in the end, and boy, did the Mavs need that one. A 1-run lead, always nice. A 2-run lead, now you can feel like you're sitting in the shade. Carter Roth will pop this one up. And funny, the player that you would think the song would help the most actually turns into a pop-out here. So Roth, I'm sure, will be talking to his pops, hoping that the song maybe plays only outside of the arena where he can enjoy it, and I'm sure he does. Believe that him and the Volcanoes were the first players to get a taste of the new tune.
Yeah, or maybe just not around his at-bats. Maybe he is thinking too much of home, hearing the song.
2 down and a 2-run lead here for the Mavericks as Eric Calder up to face Adam Cordy in a chop swing that nearly hit the ball boy down below. Looks like he was a veteran hiding behind that screen. You never want to jump out too early. Never been in that position myself. I'm sure they're much more coordinated than I am. 1-0 here to Calder. Cordy wearing the 2 runs in this inning here. His ERA pretty low coming into today's game. Believe it was floating near the 3s, and that will be inflated after a short performance in which he's given up a lot of runs in, I guess, for the short amount of time. Calder, another healthy hack, and that will end up being a strike. Be interesting to see if the Mavs staff goes back to Beck Button after the success that he found. There is some warming up still going on in the Mavericks pen. You don't want to overdo it with a new guy, especially still trying to get his feet wet here. 1-0 to Calder. He sends this one airborne. Could be a tough play. Solanas was ranging on, and Nichols will grab it in center field. He had the longest route, but he makes the play. The Mavs, 2 to go. Morrison scoring on the wild pitch. Then Giacalone goes deep to left field, and Adam Cordy, who's been known for keeping things calm and leading his team into smooth spots, has a bit more of a rocky outing this time around, and the Berries find themselves with their backs against the wall as we enter the 8th. It's Nick Stinson to begin the 3rd as the Berries, trailing for the 2nd time in this game, they managed to tie things up in the top half of the 6th inning. Now we're in the top half of the 8th. The Mavs added 2 runs in the last bottom half after Adam Cordy surrendered a home run off of a pitch to Frankie Giacalone, and then a wild pitch didn't help his cause either. That allowed Evan Morrison to score. That was prior to the Giacalone bomb. I want to thank James Tubb, as always, for joining us for another night. He'll be back on the beat tomorrow here, but he's on the other beat, his main job, and, of course, producing great content via the Medicine News articles and what have you. Go check those out, of course, there whenever you get the chance to. Lots of good stories popping out throughout this Mavericks organization during the course of a year. And the Berries trying to usher that this story isn't quite done yet. At least for this game. There's a strike to Stinson. It's 1-2. Beck Button, what a story he's been. Comes into the game straight off the street almost. It's his first ever appearance as a Mavericks pitcher, an affiliate player for the team. And he comes down and he shut down the Berries last inning, and it's tough to work off of a guy when you have such a slim scouting report. For a guy that's a left-handed pitcher, it makes it even harder. That's not an easy combination for any batter to face. A flinch there as that ball was brought down. Still stayed high above the zone, so it'll be a second ball. Stinson, the lefty, waiting for something to hit. Here's the pitch from Button, and it's swung on, hit over to Blake Dale. He's under it. Stinson with good wheels as he challenged with the sprint there to first. Giacalone will get the tap and get out number one along with it. Nathan Houston back up to the plate. Houston came into the league on a loaded team with the likes of Dougie De La Cruz and Nate Mensick, Austin Gurney, Thomas Soto, all former All-Stars. And he found a way to finally stand out. And last year he was on a team with lots of those as well on the Berries as he takes pitch one for a ball. Ethan Menard, former league MVP, Carter Beck, former league rookie of the year, Abia Medina, an all-star, all in the lineup with him, and Houston still proved his worth. Houston drills this one over to left. Carson Chan on, sliding and making the catch. That's two beauties in the game for Carson Chan in left. Carson Chan turning up the speed twice, and that ball was hit very hard, but it didn't have a high trajectory, and that's what you're going to get with Nathan Houston. He's almost a punch hitter in some ways. It comes hot off of the bat, right at you, nose level, and Chan adjusted to it on the fly. Pitch is going to end up low there from Button. And a bit of a task here for him and Nate King, who haven't worked together before, and they're thrown into the fire together, but Nate King, a great game manager, and he set up Button for success, and Button has returned the fire, but he has missed on the last two here. It's now 2-0. 2 outs in the inning already. Apologize, the score clock is off. Top of the 8th inning. Button. Here's a hard hit ball. Down on one knee is Volcano. Quick work. Holding that in and making sure his hand didn't get caught is Frankie Giacalone. A 1-2-3 inning. Beck Button. Impressive again as he knots up the Saskatoon Berries. A team that looks completely different than how they started the game, but they haven't scored more than one run in any inning so far, and that's surprising, especially when you consider what their season has looked like to this point. 146 runs, a 12-6 record. They're a much better team than the Mavs on paper statistically. I know the runs scored are higher for the Mavericks, but they do have 3 more games played, and that's obviously going to help. In terms of run average, the Berries near the top of the WCBL in that statistic, and they're good in the pitching department. Both these teams are as well, and part of that is because of a strong bullpen, anchored by the likes of Tanner Hosek, who has a ERA that is under 1. Yeah, that's pretty darn good, as he also has 16 strikeouts in his 10 innings of work. And the emergence of Levi Tibbetts for the Medicine Hat Mavericks. 9-1 innings pitched, a 3.86 ERA with 12 strikeouts. And he had his biggest moment in the Mavericks' last home game in the 10-run comeback against the Fort Mac Giants, where he pitched 2 shutout innings to secure the victory. And Fort Mac, they'd had Medicine Hat's number for that entire weekend. They haven't had the number of the Mavericks for as long as the Berries have, that dating back a couple of years, it feels like. But every so often, there's a chance to flip the script, turn into a new era, and maybe that's what the Mavericks are about to embark on here. But they still have a ways to go. Bottom of the 8th inning, rather, a chance to add to their lead, and they would love to. But on the positive note, 3 outs away from taking down the Berries here at home before the sun could even set. We don't even have the lights on here. We're almost through a full game. This has been a track meet for both of these teams. Nate King will begin the inning at the plate for the Mavericks. And it looks like a new pitcher on the mound for the Saskatoon Berries. And I believe it's number 26, Reed Beck from Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan. A good solid hit here for Nate King, but it's tracked down and caught over in right field by Eric McGuire. Reed Beck, I don't believe there is a direct relation, at least brother-wise, to Carter Beck, who's, we mentioned, two-time All-Star here, All-Star MVP for the Saskatoon Berries, who looks like he could be drafted into the MLB this upcoming season. Of course, played all of those years at Indiana State. But Reed Beck, another Saskatchewan product, he's from Meadow Lake. There's a pitcher on the Mavericks from Meadow Lake. That's Brant Spencer, and we could see him get the call to the mound pretty soon here with a little bit of rest for Spencer, who's in his affiliate year with the Mavs, pitched with Swift last year, back in his rookie season here with the Berries. This one sent high by Carson Chan. It's into a shaded area and should be playable for Solanas over at second. He'll make the grab. So a fly out here for Chan. 2 quick outs. Mentioned how quick this game has moved along. And for two teams that score a lot of runs, it is surprising that we've gotten this much. It was a pitcher's duel. I guess that speaks to the all-round structure of both of these groups. And now Reed Beck. First look here at Johnny Volcano, at least for him in this game. First pitch to Volcano. Ends for a ball. Johnny moving quickly to the plate here. He's wanting to put a little bit of pressure on Beck. Here's the pitch from Beck, and that'll miss for a ball a little bit high. Looked like it could have been on the outer half as well. It's 2-0 to Johnny. Johnny pops this one up, and some weak contact here for the Mavericks. Catch is going to be made. Sprawling out was Panks to snatch it out of the air. 3 up, 3 down for Medicine Hat. They're on the verge of taking this one home, but as we know, the WCBL, unpredictable. Games at Athletic Park, very unpredictable. And in a 2-run game, anything can happen. The Berries, not a team to shy away from the moment. Will they have theirs in the bottom half of this inning? Or in the top half of the 9th, rather, with the closing of the bottom of this inning when we return. It's tea time as the Mavericks send out Levi Tibbetts. He closed out the last game, earned the save against the Fort McMurray Giants, and now he's looking for just that here against the Saskatoon Berries in a 2-run game. Each team with 2 errors, each team with 7 hits. They've each looked evenly matched to this point. The only thing different is the runs total, and Tibbetts has not shied away from big moments. Coming into this year, or this summer rather, he hadn't had a lot of time to get adjusted on the mound, pitch at college, and get into the groove of things. But with the Mavericks, they've given him a bit of a longer leash, and a leash is generous because they've really taken the training wheels off and allowed Levi to do his thing, and it has worked out well for them. Showed off his stats earlier in this game in the head-to-head with Tanner Hosek, and you just figured in a tight game, Levi Tibbetts may appear. Here he is looking for 3 outs, and the first guy he will see is Eric Aguirre, the right fielder. Bottom of the order here for the Berries. First 2 batters will be the 8 and 9 hitters. Tibbetts, first pitch to Aguirre, and he's behind as he swings and misses. Mavericks will have another game against the Berries tomorrow. Of course, we should mention every game is weather permitted at this point with what the WCBL has experienced in terms of many downpours throughout the year. Tibbetts, the second pitch will be low for a ball. But be back against Saskatoon tomorrow, then an off day Thursday, Swift Current on Friday, Saturday, Sunday is left for Sylvan Lake before the Mavs head on the road to Regina. Lights coming on here in the top of the ninth inning. Tibbetts holding out to bunt there was Aguirre, and he must have pulled it back in time. Mass confusion in the peanut gallery here as all fans throwing oohs and ahs the umpire's way. That has been something that we have heard a lot of in this game, more than usual. 2-1 count to Aguirre. Tibbetts, Aguirre, a long swing and a long miss as he tilts his head. There's not a lot you can do when you have a tall guy like Tibbetts on the mound rifling a fastball towards you. 2-2 count, that first out, always the most important. And this first matchup important. Barry's looking for a base runner. Mavericks looking for an out. Here's Tibbetts on the 2-2. No challenge from Aguirre, who stays put. Hard to stay off of a fastball, but that had a little bit of movement going away from the plate. Tibbetts, a bit of a confusing delivery, but it really works. And as long as you can throw in the zone, it doesn't matter what it looks like. Here's the 3-2. Aguirre waits, and he jumps to the side. A walk for Tibbetts, who stretches his arm. And a leadoff runner here for the Berries. It's the last thing that the Mavs wanted to give out, similar to the Fort Mac game. Had a runner get all the way over to third base, and that's when Tibbetts came in and shut the door. So it'll be Nash Nichols up to bat. Brock Laird waits on deck, and Ethan Murdoch. The Berries hope that they can put him in a position to thrive here. Tibbetts. Runner behind him, pitch to Nichols, inside, hits for a strike. Tibbetts shaking off the first signal from King, likes what he sees on the second. Aguirre not moving at first, and a late strike call here that the fans love. I'm sure those in the Berries dugout not a fan. Tibbetts able to carve that into the bottom of the zone, and now Nash Nichols behind 0-2. Of course, the drop from Nichols allowed Evan Morrison to get to third base. Otherwise, he would have been out. 0-2 to Nichols. Runner going to go. King throw down to second. A bouncer, a slide in, and Aguirre will hang on to the bag. Great play by Eric Aguirre. When you move in with that much speed, you can tend to slide right off the base. He was able to get up in style and plant that foot in the heart of it. So 1-2, a runner in scoring position. Aguirre representing the fourth run, the tying run at the plate in Nichols. Nobody out. Tibbetts. Look back to Aguirre. Now to the plate. Pitches high. This looks like a Joe Carnahan-led club out there right now. Very patient in the big moments, not overwhelmed by what has been had and what has been set here. Tibbetts will try it again here now at 2-2. Nichols rung up looking. A frustrating night for Nash Nichols in the field and at the plate. And that's the story of his evening. And for a young ball player, you have to feel for him. You want to find a way to get your confidence back. You're not even sure what you're doing wrong at times. It feels like nothing's going your way. And that has been the tale for Nichols. And you hope that for a young guy, eventually he finds a way to break through. Tonight will not be that night as Tibbetts locks the door. 1 out, 1 in scoring position. Now the top of the Berries order. Unless something crazy happens, there will be a matchup between Tibbetts and Ethan Murdoch, who waits on deck. To the plate for Laird, and that pitch is going to be low. Nobody behind Levi Tibbetts. This is a guy that Ryan Reed and Andrew Bench trust a lot, Andrew Bench, as the Mavs pitching coach, has raved about what Tibbetts can do. 1-0 to Laird. Moving over is Blake Dale. Here comes the pitch, and that one is going to hit Laird, so he'll take first base. Ryan Reed gesturing down towards somebody at the dugout. I'm not sure if that's to get somebody to warm up or just everybody to stay alert. Andrew Bench heads out to the mound. I believe that was what the signal was about. Levi Tibbetts has not been in this spot very often where he's working out of a jam, at least that you saw the one against the Giants where they had a guy over on third base, but he's only got one out here. A little bit of a different story. He got into a lot of two-strike counts in the last game, and Fort Mac continued to hang on and hang on. But obviously 2 base runners now. The tying run over at first. Ethan Murdoch feels like he's overdue for a big play in this game. He comes up to the plate. Mavs feel like this is a game they need to have a bit of an upset in ways. They've proved they can hang with the biggest of dogs in the Berries. 1 out here for Tibbetts. A ground ball towards shorter second could do it with a double play in order. Tibbetts pitch is in for a strike, so the quick advice from Andrew Bench on the fly resonating here with Tibbetts as he gets back to his strike-throwing ways. Murdoch is not going to rush here. He's very deep in the batter's box. Tibbetts loads up, pitches high and inside. Yeah, Murdoch as far left as you can be, at least from this angle. Got a 1-1 look against Levi Tibbetts. Runner in scoring position, 1 over at first. The 1-1 pitch. Murdoch over into left field. And that ball is going to rest softly. Aguirre is going to turn. He'll come in to score, and it's a 1-run ball game. You knew that Ethan Murdoch was due, and he plops in a single. And now the pressure mounts for Levi Tibbetts with the tying run over at second base. And Gavin Panks, a get-to-base machine throughout his early WCBL life. There is one guy warming up in the Mavericks bullpen. It looks like it's Miguel De Jesus. Medicine Hat hoping this doesn't get away from them here. Tibbetts is going to miss. The 1 out obviously helps. But a tense game here. Fans have stuck around. There wasn't a lot to start tonight's game. Not because it's a Tuesday night. Still lots of people working. Swing and a miss as pumping the iron there was Levi Tibbetts. The Berries, they're preparing to bring another pitcher in if they get to the next inning. And of course, knowing Joe Carnahan's team, they believe they will get there. A very confident group. Tibbetts shaking off multiple pitches and now rests on a decision. Tibbetts loads up, and he gets the call. That outside half has worked in the Mavericks' favor tonight. Trying to get there was Diego Quinones for the Berries, and that was one of his things. He got hyper-focused on trying to reach the expanded part of the zone and just couldn't fit it in there. 1-2 count here to Gavin Panks. Gael Solana is on deck. Tibbetts. This one mashed over to right field. The tying run should score as he's sent around. Stark throwing everything into it, and the ball game is tied. The Mavericks up 2 runs coming into the 9th, and they've thrown it away here at home. Something we have seen often from them this season. And the leading run over at third base. Man, this is what the Berries are all about. They just got no quit in them. You think back to the playoffs last year, of course, a different cast of characters, but it's the same coaching staff that's been with this group since their inception, and they just believe, and it was a walk-off home run to beat the Moose Jaw Miller Express, a walk-off grand slam at that by Carter Beck. And now this season, their no-quit attitude continues. All fives here now leading in the hits as well are the Berries. Gael Solanas, who's had an excellent night at the plate, comes up. Nick Stinson waiting on deck. The leading run over at third base as Tibbetts is going to miss for ball one. Be interested to see what the mood is around the Mavericks dugout. Is there panic at all? What's the vibe going on the left side of the field? Looks to be calm, cool, and collected for those wearing baby blue. Tibbetts. That finds the strike zone, and it's a 1-1 count. Of course, if we do get to extra inning baseball, which we haven't seen in Medicine Hat here this year, there will be a lead runner at second base. That rule adapted by the MLB a couple seasons back, and most leagues following that same trend. Here's Tibbetts. That one does get there, and Solanas with an interesting response. He's very interested to see where that went or what the call was from the umpire. Been quite a few disagreements down that way tonight. Tibbetts. 1-2 count here. Looking for the second out of this inning with pressure at his back, and lunging out, making a great grab is Nate King. No even thought to swing there from Solanas. Solanas, a high caliber player and a high caliber eye at the plate. Mentioned that extra base power that he has. Is this the time where he flashes it? Tibbetts. Forward, swung on. Roth, what a play! Over to Volcano, down to first. Safe is the call, and the Berries take the lead. What a play by Carter Roth down at third base, and then the instinct to throw it over to second to try and get two and negate the runner from coming in. What an excellent attempt, but the Mavericks trail here in a game that they led coming into this inning, and it's a 3-run top of the ninth put on by the Saskatoon Berries, who now just have one runner at first, but the important thing for them is they have the lead here on the road. Tibbetts, that off the shin of Nate King, and this is where you want to keep it at just a one-run game. It's not a super big total to match in the next. But some drained spirits definitely on the Mavericks side. They've had some tough games this year. Haven't felt like a lot of bounces have gone their way, and this one more so slipping away. Bounces are a part of it, but the Berries all over Tibbetts here since he's coming in this inning. Tibbetts, a swing and a miss there, is looking to tally that one up with Stinson. Runner in scoring position. Berries a chance to take a 2-1 or a 2-run lead here, rather, in the top of the ninth. Tibbetts, not near where he was looking for. Sun's still out here in Medicine Hat, and a little bit of daylight left in the Mavs. At least they hope so, but Tibbetts has to get them to the next, and he's still got to deal with a base runner behind him, and a high throw is way off line. It's now 3-1. Nick Stinson takes his time out of the box in no rush. 0 for 4 tonight is Stinson. He would take a 1 for 5 night if that one comes in a crucial spot, and right here would be a good time for it. That fouled off by Stinson. It'll be a full count now. Lots of new players to this Barries lineup, as we talked about. Guys flying in and out of their organization. And it was the same couple of names for the first 2 years. Barries fans didn't have to change a whole bunch. One thing that has remained familiar is a guy like Carter Kopp being on their team in their bullpen. And I notice the guy in the Carter Kopp jersey, which I believe is his dad, I've talked to him prior, down below at a Mavericks game again. He has been here for every Barries game since the team began playing in the league. Here's Tibbetts, fouled off by Stinson. Maybe he's their good luck charm in some ways because they played very well in front of his eyes here at Athletic Park. Tibbetts, full count battle here with Nick Stinson. Stinson, a long day at the plate. It hasn't been his best. Here's the pitch from Tibbetts, and another foul off by Stinson, who's making Tibbetts work for this final out of the inning and final strike as well. This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat. Still a runner over at second base, and over there is Solanas. Full count. Tibbetts on the way. And a diving chance. Volcano's going to have to make a miracle play to first. Safe again is the call. And Volcano can't believe it. That's 2 that haven't fallen the Mavs' way. That one was awfully close, and I think the correct call down at first base. And the call here is going to be for Levi Tibbetts to come out of the game. The Mavericks look to what appears to be Miguel De Jesus, who will enter. Levi Tibbetts, for how gutsy of a performance he put on last game, it is the polar opposite in this one, surrendering 3 runs, all earned here in the 9th inning, and the Mavericks find themselves trailing by 1 in a game that they had under control for a majority of the night. Even when they gave up a couple of runs in a few earlier innings, it was all them. And the big 3-run inning, of course, helped. The drop in center field obviously teetering their way. But the Barries, unrelenting here, and they've made Athletic Park a place that they love to come to because of a couple of the performances they've had. You think Ethan Menard, 3 home runs here last year for the Barries in one of their games. You think about their first ever playoff series win and playoff win game-wise coming in this park. It has haunted the Mavs in many ways. The only guy that's been around for most of that, or all of that action, I guess action prior to the Barries being here, has been Johnny Volcano. Blake Dale, a part of that first-year team as well when the Barries first came into the WCBL. Miguel De Jesus doesn't have to worry about any of the prior losses or thoughts or outcomes that have happened here at Athletic Park because he's a new guy to this team this year, and he's filled in as really a 1-inning guy. He's done all right in his appearances. The Mavericks still trying to figure out what they have in De Jesus. And as De Jesus continues to get into game readiness here, we'll take a look at a couple of the scores around the WCBL that have popped up tonight. Of course, games scattered around the league as always. We don't have any triple headers tonight. Talked about that very early on. But outside of this game, a couple games in weather delays tonight. The game in Weyburn, in which the Beavers are winning 4-2 against Swift, that currently in a weather delay. A 9-2 game in Moose Jaw against Regina is in weather delay. Sylvan in the top of the 7th inning. They're playing Swift today, so Swift's prior game was weather delayed. I believe that was the yesterday battle against the Beavers. Now they're losing to Sylvan, and the Okotoks Dogs at their home park up 7-3 against the Brooks Bombers. That is your out-of-town scoreboard look here as we take in the action again at Athletic Park. The Berries with a 1-run lead, looking for more with a runner on third. This one sent high into the air near Carter Roth. He's shooing everybody out of the way, and he's going to make the grab, so the run won't be able to come in and score. But 3 of them come in on the inning, and the Berries have a late lead here. They didn't have it for a majority of this game. It was kind of a deadlock through the first couple of innings, but they arise here in the final stages against the Mavericks. Now, does Medicine Hat have any pushback? That's the question. This team's been talked about as always having belief, staying with it, finding an outcome even when they haven't been able to, and just believing those positive thoughts and I guess positive aspirations has helped them stay in some games that, including the Fort Mac game, they really haven't been in. And a night ago, it was a giant win against the Brooks Bombers in a game that they were losing coming into the final inning of play. Can they work some of that magic here? It's going to be tricky. We'll see who the Berries bring out on the mound and who they'll have to deal with, because they are going to the bullpen once again. It'll be the 4th pitcher to enter this game, and it's Clay Mixon, the Texan and right-handed pitcher, who takes the mound. And he's not new to the Berries. He's been with them for a couple of seasons now. Always been a guy that works out of the bullpen. So no Tanner Hosek tonight. He hasn't pitched in a little bit here, and I think if you were to ask Ryan Reed right now, he'd be surprised not to see him. But Mixon, another good option here for the Berries, and the Mavericks are going to have their hands full with a guy who knows the landscape of the league very well. And he's pitched here in Medicine Hat before, so he understands what this mound's all about. A mound that is described as flat by many in the WCBL. Mixon winds up, tossed down to second, and we will begin the bottom of the 9th. I'm not sure if you were to ask most Medicine Hat batters if they thought they would be here, but the reality is they are. And Josh Stark, the 9-hole hitter, will be the first guy that Mixon sees tonight. Big moments, they have been a chance to capitalize for Josh Stark, and he has made the most of those. He's got a big one to begin here. Mavs looking to get the lead runner on, similar to how the Berries did. It looks like Gavin Panks is going to head back to the dugout here. I'm not sure completely what's going on. I think the webbing of his glove may have broken. He's going to need to get another one. Bit of a freezing of the batter here for Stark. No, never want to see a guy with faulty equipment out, so we'll even the playing field and get Panks back behind the plate for Mixon's first bout against Stark. First pitch to Stark here will be a ball. Top of the order on the horizon for the Mavericks: Evan Morrison, Blake Dale, Frankie Giacalone. That was a part of the trio that made it happen last night, as Stark will foul that off. That one near the inside part is fouled it off close to his hands. Mixon. Stark crushes this ball over to right. Does it have enough carry? It does to get down. Stark rounding for second, and he is going to slide in there safely. The Mavs have a runner in scoring position, and it is Josh Stark once again shining in a big-time moment. So from one Medicine Hat kid to another, Evan Morrison, the tying run at second. He's the winning run if he decides to send one over the back fence. And just past this back fence and down the road is a place called MacDonnell Park. That is where Evan Morrison really learned to hit the long ball, and he says he loved crushing home runs there. Does he have one for the big park now? A swing and a miss on the first pitch here from Mixon. So Mixon will work with a runner at his back. Adds about 5% of pressure to a pitcher. 0-1 to Morrison, and he'll foul this one off. In attack mode here is Morrison, and you could say the same for Mixon on the mound. Blake Dale, a big home run last night. He waits on deck. Frankie Giacalone with a home run in this game. He waits in the hole. Mixon, Morrison dusts that one aside. The count will freeze at 0-2. Mavs have not had a walk-off victory yet this year. Morrison hoping to make that happen for his group. Mixon looking to stall them. That pitch is going to hit the catcher in Panks, and Stark will stay put at second. And a risky play not to go for Stark, but also a risky play if you do go. Of course, advancing a runner, getting him into third base, always important. But you don't want to give away what Stark has already done here. Obviously an excellent last at-bat in which he pounded one over into right field. 1-2 count to Morrison. Mixon sways back. Here comes the pitch. Morrison, a swing and a miss, and a big first out here for the Berries, as Stark will stay planted over at second base. And Blake Dale, it hasn't been his best night after what has been a crazy stretch for him, one of the hottest stretches of his career. He's 0 for 4 in this game. Talked about Ethan Murdoch not having the best night either, but he came up when the time was right, and he made the Mavs pay when the time was right. Blake Dale will look to follow in his footsteps. Dale lunges out and deflects this one wide. That pitch looked like it may have been outside, dipping down, and that forced Dale to adjust. Oh, 1 here to Dale with just the one out. Second pitch is a strike to Dale. Not an easy task for Clay Mixon going after such a hot hitter in Blake Dale, but they've had his number tonight, and a swing and a miss. Back-to-back Ks for Clay Mixon. He gave up the leadoff hit to Josh Stark, an extra base hit, and Stark has not moved from second since. Frankie Giacalone, 2 outs now. The Mavs push to the limit here. If we get to the batter behind Giacalone, it'll be Carter Roth. Giacalone 1 for 4 on the night. That one hit a home run. He needs a big one here. First pitch to Giacalone, into the dirt for ball number 1. This would be a career night for the right-hander and first baseman. Giacalone probably knows it at the plate. You don't need to tell him twice. Pitch is going to miss, and Stark's going to take off for third base. So that's the bounce that the Mavericks needed, and gripping it a little bit tighter than usual is Clay Mixon, and that's a thing that people like to call pressure. So 2-0 to Frankie Giacalone. 2-out rallies. They've been a part of this Mavericks scheme, but how long can that keep up? Mixon going to tie his shoe here, and the extra second may work in his favor. Mixon. Third consecutive pitch that misses, and he's going right around Giacalone, and Giacalone knows it with several head shakes. Giacalone looking over to Ryan Reed. They've been working hard together on adjusting his swing, and Reed said he's going to have a big game at some point. Mixon misses. Stark going to charge in, heading for home plate. We're tied at 6. So it didn't take a hit to score Stark, and instead, Stark's hit is what sets himself up to come in to score. 2 pitches that were botched here from Clay Mixon, and the game continues. So now the winning run in Frankie Giacalone is over at first base, and in comes Carter Roth. It's so funny. Deja vu. You hear about it all the time. Carter Roth with his parents in the stands last year. I believe it was a walk-off hit into right. He comes up in a position. Giacalone a long way to go over from first base. But it's similar to what Roth would have seen a year ago. He loves having his parents here because obviously he enjoys their company, but it's helped his play as Roth will hop to the side, and it's a 2-0 count Mixon is feeling the heat. Through 2 batters, Clay Mixon in total control. And similar to Levi Tibbetts, when his day started on the mound in the 9th, looked calm, cool, collected. And then things went awry after that. Mixon right back to the strike zone as he ties that one in and looks to work back in the count against Carter Roth. And there's back-to-back strikes now. So if Roth goes out, we'll have extra inning action for the first time this year at Athletic Park. And lots to talk about with that, but we've set the stage for the rules, which is fun. Roth looking to hold on, and that pitch, he'll hold on a swing and force a full count to Mixon. Right behind Carter Roth is Eric Calder. Here's the pitch from Mixon, and this one pulled wide. A survival swing there from Roth. When Roth gets deep into these counts, he's looking for short and weak contact. The first couple of swings, looking to drive it deeper. It's not that he's trying to survive. He's just methodical with how he goes about things late in counts. A full count here. Giacalone on first. Mixon the pitch. And that one is outside. Carter Roth will take first. Giacalone moves into scoring position at second. And Eric Calder moves into the spotlight. Joe Carnahan yet to leave the dugout here to talk to Clay Mixon. Calder will take an extra second. I'm sure everybody in the crowd with that extra second taking a deep breath. What a game this has been. The last one excited, of course, a comeback and then a bit of a back and forth late. Mavs able to pull through. And in this game, the Berries have put up quite a fight. 3 runs in the top of the 9th, and then the Mavs punch back here in the bottom half. And they secure a run on pretty much a Josh Stark solo effort, and he didn't need to leave the yard to do it. Mixon, Calder, first swing is fouled away. Eric Calder's demeanor fits perfect in this moment. So calm and composed and process-oriented. A good play by Clay Mixon to get back into the strike zone. We saw him struggle with that in the matchup against Giacalone and Roth. That one low to Calder. He wanted him to chase. Looks like Adam Volcano has come in to pinch run for Frankie Giacalone. So if this game continues, we'll have to monitor what all the switches are and defensive replacements. Adam Volcano can play any position, so it shouldn't be much of an adjustment for the Mavs. A 1-1 count here to Eric Calder. Here comes the pitch from Mixon and a foul away from Calder. Calder 1 for 4 so far tonight. A double would do it for sure. He's a guy who likes to spread the ball around, and in his words, I just love to hit. Barreling something up feels good. It doesn't need to be far. It just needs to be in the spot that he wants it to be in. 1-2 count. Mixon looking for one last strike, and with it, one last out. Calder loops this one. A slow roller, sliding, unable to make the play at second was Solanas, and the bases are loaded for Medicine Hat. The winning run moves to third, and it's Adam Volcano. And now, attention is turned towards Nate King. It has been an ideal year for King. But one thing he hasn't been able to figure out is how his team hasn't been more successful. He's got a chance to bring the success forth here, and we'll see who he does it against. Nobody warming up for the Berries, so it'll be a chat between Joe Carnahan and Clay Mixon. Mixon entering this game, a reliable guy throughout his Berries career, and a guy who Carnahan probably wouldn't have had second thoughts about putting in the game. 7.11 ERA so far this year, which isn't something that I'm sure he likes. But in previous iterations of the Berries, he's been the guy that they've needed when called out of the bullpen. 6-1 innings pitched coming into this game for Mixon. And he's at a long bottom of the ninth here that's continued to stretch on. A couple of wild pitches. Those allow Josh Stark to score. First pitch to King is a strike. And you love to see that from Mixon in back-to-back counts here. Even though things aren't going his way and it's been a bit lopsided, he started both of the last two guys off with first pitch strikes. 0-1 to Nate King. King gonna send this one to right, and it just rides far enough to go foul. Good piece of hitting there for Nate King, but he finds himself down 0-2. So back to the scenario that Mixon saw with Eric Calder. King, all eyes on the man on the mound. Here's Mixon, the 0-2. King chops this one down to third. Looking over to first, slinging a throw and tying it in there. A long way for Josh Henson, but the Mavs leave the bases loaded. They tie up the game. Josh Stark all the way around, and Adam Volcano unable to score. And so we will see extra inning baseball. Medicine Hat getting very close as you can get to winning a ball game. But the Berries, they hold on again. While we enter the 10th, Miguel De Jesus enters as the pitcher for the Mavs, so he'll remain out. He finished off the top of the ninth inning rather to get us to this point, and then obviously the Mavs tying it up after that. 4 runs in the last 2 innings here between these two teams, as King will have a quick word with De Jesus. And if you didn't join us till we got into this spot in the game, it has been a back and forth affair, a seesaw battle between these two. The Berries early on able to punch a couple runs through in more of a singles game. The Mavericks able to do much of the same until the big ball came their way, and that was Frankie Giacalone who sent one over the fence. At that point in time, the Mavericks had a 2-run lead, and then in the last inning, plucking away were the Berries, and mostly off of singles again, made it happen. Runner will start on second base here, and it looks to be Nash Nichols for the Saskatoon Berries. So the lead runner always makes things interesting, and you feel like if you can stymie a team and leave that runner stranded or get him out in another way, that you have the advantage. Both teams looking for that here. A pulled ball, well foul into left field. A good attempt at the plate here is, looks like a pinch hitter has come into the game for the Saskatoon Berries. Or rather, this is Josh Henson. Thought I saw 9 on the back of a jersey for a second. I go, that's not a guy I've seen before. Here's a bouncer, and King loses it completely, and a runner is off towards third base. So that plays well into the Berries' hand here. Miguel De Jesus was open about some of the control issues he's had in the past, and that a pitch that I'm sure he does not like. 2-1 count here to Henson. Can Another rally start with the bottom of the order here for the Berries. That's what they did in the bottom of the ninth. Top of the ninth, rather, is DeJesus doesn't get the call there. It's 3-1 now. Henson waits for the pitch. DeJesus on the way, and it's fouled off. So full count here to Henson. Out number one, so important in these extra inning games. It's important in any inning, but usually having a runner at second with one out is a good look for any team on defense. The Mavs have to deal with the runner at third in this case. DeJesus, this one turned on again, and Henson knows what he's looking for. He's just doing a little too much in this at-bat, and that's two that he's gotten a hold of, but sent far left. DeJesus, the 3-2 pitch, and a jam shot. Morrison's over at first now, and this one far out of play, hits off the top of one of the bleachers and into the Mavericks parking lot. So lots of defensive substitutions now for the Mavs in terms of people just being replaced, not guys actually coming into the game who are new. The only difference is Adam Volcano to center field and Evan Morrison now over at first base. Frankie Giacalone out of the game. He was pinch ran for with Volcano heading to second. Back to the full count look here for DeJesus, and this one is put over into center field. Maybe a chance to tag and run, and there will be a chance for Nichols. No conversion to the plate, and the Berries have the lead back here. So the bases are cleared, and that lead runner through. And now it's Eric Aguirre. Aguirre will toss the extra bat back. Didn't want that in his way or line of sight. Now coming up to the plate. The Mavs will take the out there in exchange for the run. Makes the next inning a little more clear-cut. DeJesus able to get the first out. Off speed there as that pitch rolls out high. It was an 8-pitch at-bat to Josh Henson to get the sacrifice fly to go. But the Berries now need base runners. You want to be able to build off of this. A one-run game usually doesn't go in your favor in extra innings. And a new pitcher warming up as well for the Berries. Keep tabs on who it is to come into the game. I can't imagine Clay Mixon stays in after what was a turbulent bottom of the ninth. The 1-1. This one just leaks foul as thinking he had an opposite field hit was Aguirre, and you hope that that ball gets a little bit dewy in the infield and sticks in some of the grass, causes trouble for the third baseman. It can be a tough play to make charging in, and Aguirre with good speed thought that that might be the one that he had. DeJesus stretches forward and a swing and a miss as the Nova Scotia native labels a K. So now Nash Nichols to the plate. It's hard to leave right now if you're a fan. You know it's getting late, but this game has been quick for the most part. Haven't even reached 10 o'clock local time. Game began here at 6:45. But in extra innings, sometimes it's past some people's bedtime. Who wants to leave in a close game, though? DeJesus, the off-speed not working in his favor. He's tried that the last 2 times on his first pitch. And time is called here. Looks like it's called by Nichols, and rather, I think it was called by the home plate umpire. A ball got away during one of the bullpen sessions for the Mavericks down on the left-hand side. Here's DeJesus, 1-0 count, a dribbler to the mound. DeJesus leaves this for Volcano, and a high throw, a great play by Evan Morrison. And Volcano not happy about that ball being left for him there. It was an in-betweener. And usually if it's ahead of the pitcher, obviously it's his play. I don't think DeJesus felt he had enough time to get over to that side. So now there's a runner on here. DeJesus was a play to first away from getting out of this inning. Talk about a slow roller in the grass there for Nichols. Nichols lengthening the lead off over at first base. Here's one up the stripe and threw in for a base hit. Nichols will pause up at second, and Brock Laird arrives at first. Maybe a 2-out rally in the works here for the Berries. And now it is Ethan Murdoch once again. A big hit in the last, and it is the bottom of the order coming through and setting moments like this up for the Berries that has worked for them in this game, and it's what's kept them afloat in this game. The best teams have strong depth, and the Berries showing it off here in Medicine Hat. DeJesus, a bouncer, and both runners will come into scoring position. King, a high throw to DeJesus, and a bit of frustration in that throw maybe for King. King coming up in the last inning with a chance to win, hit a ground ball over to third, and the play was made to first on a frozen rope. One 1-0 count. DeJesus misses high. Good play by King to square that in. And now the movement picks up over in the Mavericks bullpen. Two 2-0 count. Here comes the pitch and a swing and a miss. Murdoch unable to square that up. In these situations, you often start thinking about the big one. Murdoch here looking for some contact, and he's done that well over the course of this season. One of the best hitters for average in the WCBL, and that ball nearly sailed on DeJesus. No challenge there from Murdoch. Two runners in scoring position. The Mavs had a similar look in the bottom of the ninth and were unable to come through. That can be the difference sometimes. Here's DeJesus on the 3-1, and it's called a strike at the last second, knowing it was borderline was Murdoch, and he'll take a pitch to make it a full count. Murdoch, a swing away from making this a multi-run lead. DeJesus, a strike away from getting his team on to the next level in the bottom of the 10th. Here comes the pitch. Murdoch over towards right field, and that ball is gonna go for a home run. Ethan Murdoch, a 3-run shot, and that may have just buried the Mavs. The Berries with home runs in big moments, and Murdoch the latest. He had been due for quite some time, his third of the season, as he goes yard. That ball seemed to travel for a lifetime out towards right center field, and a devastating blow to the Mavericks here, who now trail by 4 runs. Miguel DeJesus being left out there now, and all members of the bullpen quietly moving their way back to the Mavs dugout. Swing and a miss for Gavin Panks. Takes the urgency off of his bat now with Murdoch launching the big one. First home run of the game for the Saskatoon Berries. Second home run in total between these two teams. That one down low as it knocks the plate. Still 2 outs up on the board for the Mavericks. DeJesus comes with the fastball, and he gets a foul off from Panks. In a game that was so fast, this has been a long inning for DeJesus and company. And And a swing and a foul off there at the very end from Panks. Turning loosely was Panks. DeJesus. A stare on the mound. Here comes the pitch and a swing and a miss. That will get Gavin Panks, but damage done by Ethan Murdoch. He stuns the home crowd here in Medicine Hat. The Mavericks were a hit away from ending this in regulation and in extra innings. Ethan Murdoch making them pay a 3-run shot and now a 4-run lead for the Berries. One last breath here for the Mavericks, and it feels like exactly that in the bottom of the 10th. You give up a 4 spot in the top half, it is hard to come back, and out number 1 looks promising. Nathan Houston under it. When you take a blow like that in any sort of sport, it makes it tough to rally back, and even the strongest-minded athletes and coaches, it's hard to will out of a situation where you are so close to getting it done. And that is the story of the Mavs' day, and in many ways their season so far. Of course, the story still not over yet. Lots of baseball to be played, not only in this game but throughout the rest of it. But a major blow, and that's one of the only ways you can put it. The Berries, they're legit as always, and not shocking at all that they have come to play today and come to finish the job. As they have a 4-run lead runner on second for the Mavericks. Johnny Volcano now in at the plate. He'll take the second pitch for a ball. Volcano would have had to make a heroic play at the very end. He was left in a tough spot there in the infield trying to stretch over, and now he's going to send this one over towards center field, and that will be caught by Nash Nichols for out number 2. Little redemption for Nichols after the drop earlier in this game. Josh Stark got the Mavs into this extra inning duel with his double in the bottom of the 9th inning, and now he comes to the plate in a much different situation. Stark. Pitch hits for a strike. A little bit late to the party here, but Dallin Rude, the new pitcher on the mound for the Saskatoon Berries, and Rude has had a good campaign for them this year. Another guy, as we mentioned, Adam Cordy, Munster Sask, he another native of that area. And Rude comes in with fairly good numbers over his season. No swing from Stark there. It'll be 2-1. Brood with just a 1.69 ERA, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk. You want strike throwers, and Reed is one of your guys as he gets Stark to miss there. It'll be 2-2, and the Mavs down to their final strike. Stark awaits, and he holds on for dear life and fouls that off. An inning ago, Stark probably thought that his group was in prime position after his double off of the wall, fired up as he reached second. Now a much somber mood out there for the Mavs. Here's the pitch. Stark lines this one to second. Solanas over to first. Comeback complete for the Berries, who trailed by 2 heading into the top of the 9th. They rally with 3 and then put up a big 4 spot in the top of the 10th. They're the best in the West for one reason, or best in the East rather, and best in the Western Canadian Baseball League, some would argue. And they put it all on display here tonight. Adam Cordy, who's one of their all-stars, didn't have his best. Diego Quinones, solid out of the gate. And the relievers, even though there were ups and downs, the bats came through. Ethan Murdoch's 3-run homer, the biggest part, and a devastating loss for the Mavs, who have had a lot of those this year. And the sluggish run continues here. Medicine Hat still unable to put 2 wins together, dating all the way back to the beginning of this season when they beat Regina and then Swift, their longest win streak at 2 games, as the Berries continue to roll hot through the standings, their 13th win of the season, and you know that they have plenty more in store. And after a win like this, that sets up for a big chance to sweep the series tomorrow in a divisional matchup. It was always more key as the Berries take their 2nd in a row. Here on the road at Athletic Park, final score 10-6 in extras as the Berries down the Mavs. That'll do it for another night of WCBL baseball here on Flow Sports. My name is Truman Bartman. Thanks for joining me for what was a fun one tonight. Back and forth the whole way through, and as the night grew older, the game got even more exciting. Ethan Murdoch, your hero tonight. And we say so long from Athletic Park.